We have a new PA system in the place. That's awesome. All right, the time being approximately 7 PM, we will call the January 25th meeting of the Town of Middleton Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Welcome, everybody. First item on our agenda are meeting minutes from three of our meetings, November 16th, December 11th, and December 14th. Have the members had a chance to review the minutes? Any additions, subtractions, corrections? Anyone? No? Someone want to make a motion? Or I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes, so we'll do them all in one lump if there's nothing. I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes of November 16th, 2024, December 11th, 2023, and actually, that's November 16th of 2023. December 11th of 2023 and December 14th, 2023.
Got it.
Did you so move that?
Yes.
You're so moving. Is someone second?
I'll second.
Second.
Sorry.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, next up, continued public hearings. That's 10-18 Boston Street, Villbridge Acquisitions. Application for comprehensive permit. Welcome again.
Lars Onion from Villbridge Acquisitions. I think Katrina's pulling up the,
What would you like?
The status update, which
Status
you've
update.
asked
So
for
I'm
us.
going to show you.
Sure.
It should work now. Where is the status update? You see, there it is. There we go. So now if you can move it around, you should be able to move it around.
Okay.
Maybe not. And then go back, so and hit
Okay.
the arrow.
Okay.
And I've also got the pointer if you need it.
But we're
Are you
do
trying
the-
to make it?
I was just trying to, oh, there we go, okay. There. That's bigger.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you, sorry. So just to go through the status schedule as requested previously, so we've had 4 meetings to date covering a lot of the topics, building design, civil and site. Some of them continue to be open. Tonight, we had previously discussed reviewing traffic, as I outlined in the cover letter I sent in. Because of revising some of the assumptions, it sort of delayed the ability to cover that. And then also, unfortunately, I did a poor job of scheduling Jeff, and so he was already booked for tonight. So he'll be here on the 15th. I apologize for the inconvenience on that. But we do have Joe Pisnola from Hancock Associates to review additional information around civil and septic, and happy to talk through any of the other questions, comments you have, as well as talk to the board. We then have the next meeting, which I understand the board to vote in December would be February 15th. Again, we'll have traffic and civil, and from what I understand, TEC will be here at that time, so we can hopefully wrap up the peer review process. Then we would be able to revisit the discussion around waivers, which we had tabled from previously. So now that we have sort of the plan and the building settled, and then our understanding is that the ZBA's council wants to then start the discussion on decision conditions, just getting feedback from you on what you are looking for, and again, questions and comments. We did submit today a letter to extend the hearing period by 10 days. We just kind of had this weird quirk in the schedule where our hearing window of the 180 days was going to end on March 18th, which was kind of between 2 meetings, which just felt kind of useless. So adding the 10 days would get us to the March 28th meeting. To then, right now we have here, just following up on prior topics, continuing to discuss conditions, hopefully with a draft in place by then, and public comment closing the hearing. But there is a 6-week gap between the two, a month and a half, and so we didn't know if it would make sense to introduce a new meeting in between just to keep progress moving. Obviously, that's at your discretion, but it just seemed like a long span of time, just how things are unfolding. So that's what we have for the schedule on that right column there.
Excellent, all right. I think, and the members can chime in as well, I think if there are outstanding items and it fits with the members' schedules, and we need to address those items, then having another meeting, I'm not opposed to having another meeting, but again, it's just based on
Sure.
schedules.
Yeah, and I'm not, obviously, it just seemed like an opportunity, but obviously whatever works, we're willing to work with.
Okay, sure.
So I would suggest tonight, one of the first things you do is vote to accept their request to extend the time for the public hearing to be closed. And that would give you until March 28th to close it, because your February meeting is a week earlier, there's more than 40 days in between. And so that'll cover you until March 28th to close the public hearing. And then you have 40 days more to make a decision on
Okay.
that. And then also you have to decide if you want to add the March 7th meeting. We did check, this room is available, and Jay Tallerman is available. Lars knows that it wasn't my favorite idea to add a meeting, because I know you're all busy, and I am busy too. But you have to talk about whether or not you want to have that.
Members, how do you feel about extending as they've requested? Any,
It's fine.
Yeah.
everybody okay with that?
No,
All
that's
right,
fine.
so I'll accept the motion that we grant the request to extend
I'll,
to what date? The 28th of March?
yeah. Additional 10 days.
So you'll have 190 days to close the public hearing, and that brings you right to March 28th.
Okay.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any additional discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I've already drafted the letter, so before you leave tonight, you can sign it, and it has it in the folder.
Okay, all right.
And then for the meeting, do we want to,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff, and it would, if the members feel that it'd be worthwhile, I mean.
I think it'd be a more efficient use of everyone's time to have a dedicated, almost like a technical compliance night, like where we go through that kind of stuff and keep it, kind of go through the weeds with Jay, and then if at the 28th meeting, we should be ready to vote.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Members?
Agree.
So I'll move for the ZBA to have a special meeting on March 7th, is that it?
March 7th, yeah.
2024 at 7 PM?
Is that when you?
To hear the continued public hearing on 1018 Boston Street.
All right, motion made. Do I have a second?
But you're not continuing it yet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second it? All right. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Before we hear, we did get comments from the conservation agent, and seeing as how we're going to be talking about septic, and you may recall at the last meeting, Member Renault was asking about mounding study and some other things. Do you know, has that been accomplished? I think, I have some notes here that a mounding analysis for the stormwater and septic to make sure the water table is not increased outside the property line. So have we, are you prepared to?
Yeah, the mounding calculations have been submitted, and we answered.
been?
Have been, and
Yep.
they're in TEC's possession. Again, for the record, Mr. Chairman, Joe Pesnola from Hancock Associates.
Okay.
So TEC's latest letter, which is dated December 29th, had some questions regarding those.
Okay.
We provided responses and revised plans on January 18th, and they are looking at those
Okay.
as to the adequacy of our responses.
All right. I'm gonna just read into the record the comments from Kristen Kent. You got them? Oh, awesome. Go ahead. I didn't know you had them.
My job.
All right.
She gets paid for this job.
I know.
to do that.
And we doubled your salary this year. That's right. I forgot about that.
Really? All right, so this is from Kristen Kent, dated January 23rd, 24. I just wanted to express my concern regarding the stormwater for 10 through 18 Boston Street project from a non-engineer's perspective. The Conservation Commission was the stormwater permitting authority for the adjacent Blue Haven project, and they have had significant issues with stormwater due to high water table and the large rain events we've had within the last year. The project was also peer-reviewed by TEC. The developer made adjustments to better manage the water, but the issues persist. Given the relatively high groundwater on the site, the Blue Haven community does not have a traditional catch basin detention basin system, and instead has pervious pavement, drainage swales, and detention basins. The amount of stormwater generated by the project has also caused issues for a few of the adjacent down-gradient Lewis Drive residents. My concerns are twofold. Number one, given the stormwater that will now be going into the ground on the former Angelica site, does this have the potential to cause issues for Blue Haven, which is plus or minus 3 feet lower than 10 to 18 Boston Street? The combination of the stormwater, this is number 2, the combination of the stormwater now being infiltrated on site with the proposed increase in septic volume being infiltrated is also likely to raise the water table in the area. While I understand stormwater and septic are permitted separately, this is a significant concern. Just wanted to make you aware of some of the challenges Blue Haven and Lewis Drive are already experiencing and the potential for this project to further intensify the situation. And
Thank you,
I
Madam
think
Clerk.
that's it.
Okay. So you heard what the concerns were. I think part of this mounding analysis and what TEC is looking at hopefully is going to provide some guidance relative to this. Right, so.
Certainly.
So you're on.
Okay.
Talk to us.
Okay, just to revisit a little bit of what was covered in the cover memo I sent you. As I mentioned and discussed, the discussions we've been having have gotten a little bit complicated because as we realized and talked about at length in November and December, it's hard to isolate the different components of the whole project, although we're sort of forced to because of the different permitting regimes. And so the reason for this sort of delay with the traffic engineering is because it just became clear it was going to be simpler to understand the impacts to just have the traffic trips separated instead of having interior shared trips for purposes of evaluating the project. So we still hold, at least in my mind, would love to keep the vision of having things being a horizontal mixed-use project, but for purposes of just helping to delineate the impacts each project's having, so we could understand then the mitigation that's necessary for both just the residential and then the entire cumulative project together, we made those adjustments to the engineering. With that, as highlighted in the memo, we have been now having months and months of conversations with potential commercial real estate, the retail space users. So we have a much better sense of what folks out there are looking for. And the original plan that we had as the background growth plan was just way too intensive to reality. For example, we were carrying an 8,000 square foot coffee shop with a drive-through. And this is something I didn't realize, but if the trip generation is based on the square footage, so even if you have a 8,000 square foot Dunkin' Donuts or a 2,000 square foot Dunkin' Donuts, there's still only one drive-through window, but you basically have 4 times the amount of traffic being generated just because of that. So this was like one of these aha moments as Jeff kind of walked me through all the pieces and was like, oh my goodness. So we looked at the amount of volume of trips this theoretical commercial placeholder plan was, and it was just overwhelmingly more traffic than we ever would expect to accomplish. Obviously, we also then have all the other factors of the project in terms of how much square footage, layout, and the like. So the new plan, and I've had that in the memo outlined, reflects an actual 2,400 square foot coffee shop, which is what the norm is in the marketplace. The feedback from restaurant operators is something on the order of a 4,000 square foot restaurant for 120 to 150 seats is the norm of what they would be looking for in this area. And then the other retail users being smaller in shape. And so those two things together, just to help clarify for all of us exactly what makes sense. The other thing is, as we work through our commercial plans, even though we originally were hoping for a possibility of doing 2 drive-throughs, we really don't think that is out there. For example, one of the biggest potential users was banks. Banks are kind of done now, opening up new locations. I know there's a new Chase Bank opening up down the road, but they're kind of wrapping that up, but there's not a lot of market out there right now for yet more banking branches unless a relocation opportunity arises. So those were all the ways we were able to kind of help simplify this, just to have it be more reflective of what is likely to happen as opposed to maybe being over conservative on our background growth assumption.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
The last meeting, we talked about some of the off-site mitigation, and I know we're not quite there yet in terms of what that is going to look like from a traffic standpoint, but we did talk about the possibility of providing, or the project providing some additional funding sources so that we can do the project the right way, and we talked about things like MassWorks and that. Have you considered any of that?
Definitely consider it. I've talked to one of the leading MassWorks grant consultants in the state just to understand the what we had talked about before, how to position the whole package to increase the odds of success. As I think I outlined in the memo, but what we were trying to do is trying to help understand what do we need to do to mitigate the project, and then that element, at least from my perception thus far, that's been more so in the realm of this development agreement discussion that's happening with the select board. So we're not in any way saying we don't want to or not willing to do that, but just trying to have the conversation in the right arena or sphere, if you will, around that. But yes, there is a process they just released the dates last week, the 19th, on the process to go and do the expression of interest, which I think is due in mid-March, to then start that process
I
exactly.
think it's actually now called Community One Stop, but it's part of the
Correct.
MassWorks thing.
Yes,
And
yep.
it would be in partnership with the town, because the grant actually goes to the town.
Correct, that's right. The town has to be the applicant. So right now, I last spoke to the town administrator 2 weeks ago, and my understanding is they're working on a draft of that development agreement. We're hoping to see that sometime
Okay.
here soon.
Thank
Keep
you.
that ball moving forward.
Members, any questions for Laz at this point? Tonight? Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Was there anything else that you were presenting tonight relative to the drainage and the septic and all that kind of stuff, or is this just sort of an update for tonight?
Not unless there's specific questions. I think we've presented the responses to TEC and the addition and the revised plans, and we're waiting for their response. Hopefully, at that juncture, many of the original comments from TEC have now been satisfied, and you'll note, although our response letter is very long, we're carrying all that, so you can see that the items have been, no further comment is required because they've been put to rest.
Right, okay.
The only thing I might add, if I may, is just based on that letter from the conservation agent, we're more than happy to provide additional follow-up information to address those concerns, so that, again, if TEC is in the process, from what we understand, of reviewing our most recent submission, they could also look at additional thoughts we could provide on those topics, so that when we're back here on the 15th with TEC, hopefully they have had an opportunity to review everything.
I think that would be wise.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a concern of the conservation agent. I know it's a concern of the abutting properties.
Sure. Yep.
So I think that you're going to have to address that in some way. Yes.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, just kind of conflicting directives, if you will. Mr. Renaud has called for no increase in volume off-site. Now, that's not a requirement of Mass DEP stormwater standards. We are required to control the rate of runoff that leaves the site. The conservation agent and the neighbors have brought up the issue of groundwater and the concerns that our project may have on that. And we've done the extensive mounding analysis and so forth. But I want to point out that the only way that we can do full volume retention is to do more infiltration on the site. There's no other way to do it. And while that's a conservative approach to mitigating impacts without thinking about what impacts may or may not be off-site related to volume increase, it may not be best served. We may look at rate attenuation. One of the important things about the stormwater on this site is the direction that the stormwater is moving currently. There's 3 existing discharge points on the site, one to Boston Street, one directly to 114, and one towards Blue Haven. Now, we're drastically reducing the size of that area contributing to Blue Haven, and then that in itself decreases the amount of superficial water that goes in that direction. We're significantly decreasing the amount that goes to Boston Street, just because of the way we capture the stormwater. So our main analysis point is the discharge to 114 and the discharge to the Mass DOT drainage system in that. And their rate attenuation is very important because we're going into a drainage system that is moving. And if we don't increase the rate, then we don't have an impact. And we've looked at the additions to our system to control surcharging in that system, which is important. We don't want the water bubbling out of all of the drain manholes and catch basins, and we've done that. But if we were to just say, for the 100-year storm event, don't have any increased volume from the site, we would have to increase the amount of infiltration, which means we would have to go back through our mounding analysis and see the impacts of that. And I really don't think that's best served when looking at what are the issues. The issues are at Blue Haven, surface drainage, and I just explained how we're not going to impact that because of our design, and groundwater. And we need to stay attuned to that groundwater and how we might have impacts. The state mandates how much we need to recharge back into the ground, and we're trying to control that. So there's, again, 3 points to a stormwater system: attenuation, pre to post rate, and or volume, treatment, and recharge. They're related, but the recharge is a specific amount to try to mimic what's happening today, so that we don't starve the aquifer, but we don't also overwhelm the aquifer. So we're meeting those to the letter, and we're not providing a significant amount of additional recharge over what is required to meet that standard. So it's kind of a balancing test. And I'm happy to repeat all this when Mr. Renault's here. I know that he's going to watch the tape here, but
He may be watching right now.
I wanted to get that out so that we could kind of set the table for the continued discussion on that subject matter.
So I have a question and a comment. So, relative to all of this, particularly groundwater recharge, is any form of detention in terms of time and concentration where all this stuff is going in, right? I mean, is that part of
That's
solution?
part of our system. We look at the time of concentration currently, and we look at the time of concentration in the post-development. This is kind of a very developed site, you know, the surroundings, so it inherently already has a pretty fast time of concentration. But through the implementation of our system, where the water goes into an infiltration system, has to stage up before it begins to discharge, it does consider trying to mimic that existing time of concentration, so we're not going too fast. Again, it's all about the rate that hits that Mass DOT pipe that we're trying to control, and we're going to have to go to Mass DOT.
Well, that brings me to my next
explain to them
comment.
that we're not impacting their system, and I think we're in a very good position with the modifications that we've made in direct response to TEC's calls and some of Mr. Murno's input on previous meetings to put us in a good position for Mass DOT.
So the second half of what I was going to bring up is Mass DOT typically will not allow runoff from abutting private property into their system. So you may have a hill to climb with that one.
Well, there's an existing pipe there. There's water flowing to their system today. So it's about proving to them that, you know, that is there and that is functioning today, and it takes an amount of water. It's only an 8-inch pipe. It's not a lot of water, so that is a constraint, and the whole surcharge question was one that we had to tackle because of that size pipe. And what we don't want to do is say, let's redesign the whole DOT system, because they probably wouldn't want us to do that, and we wouldn't want to do that. So it's a design parameter point that I think we're entitled to continue to flow, because if we don't do anything, it's going to continue to flow. It picks up all of Angelica's. When we do get to the Angelica's proper site in the retail development, we're going to reduce the amount of impervious there. Currently, our calculations at that 8-inch pipe considers the existing pavement that's there today and the existing building. Now, we're going to come in and redevelop that site, put in landscaping, cut back, put in interior landscape islands and so forth, and have a net decrease in impervious, which will help more with that, that connection point.
So generally, not generally, but our general conditions talk about that if permits are needed by Mass DOT, that's part of our conditions, that you have to get those. I think in this case, given the drainage issues, I think we would want to know ahead of time that you're all set with Mass DOT in terms of where this runoff is going. Because
No,
that's
and-
going to be integral to your design.
Yeah. And you had suggested at a prior meeting that we open up dialogue, and we're looking to do that before we leave this, this process and before we get into or before we leave the permitting of the retail.
Members, anything? Ian? Carolyn?
No.
Craig? Ian, anything?
I'll wait till the next meeting.
Okay.
Versus action.
Is there anyone from the public that has any questions that have not been asked in the past? Yes, sir. Name and address?
The three of us.
We're not all going to talk.
You don't really need the microphone.
Oh, we don't, okay.
Jim Papa, 75 Rowell Lane.
Fred Feldman, 27 Rowell Lane.
And Jim Kelleher, 57 Rowell Lane. And we are the board of directors.
We're the new Board of Directors elect
Oh,
from Blue Haven.
congratulations,
Thank you.
condolences.
I guess I would start off, I don't know if you want me to start off.
Well, I think we would be brief. so.
Yeah, I'll be brief, but I was down, and Jim was down talking to Kristen Kent, and I didn't realize you were going to read her letter, but a couple of other things that she'd mentioned to us, I'd been down there a few times to talk to her, was she said that one thing is that when you go in with 40B, she said the standard is a lot less than the town of Middleton would require for getting approval, and she said that really, in her estimation, she doesn't understand, she said that drainage approval goes hand in hand with septic approval, and she would think that, not denying, we don't understand why you would approve drainage prior to septic, because if you approve drainage first, and then you go for septic, and the septic is not compatible with the drainage, and you've already approved the drainage, then you can't change the drainage. It sounds like if they work together, that you would need to have the septic approved first, and then you approve the drainage. Because if one impairs the other, then the septic is gonna fail. And also, the same way that you're doing the traffic study, you're looking at it as a whole. You're gonna be you're looking to approve a drainage for the residential, and then you're gonna go and you look to do a septic and a drainage for a commercial piece on the same property. So it all works together. But the most critical piece was, if you approve drainage, and then you go and ask, and they come back and they're looking for approval of the septic, that septic design may not be compatible with the drainage system that you approved. So no one's saying deny it, but delay it until you have a septic system that's compatible with the drainage system. That's reasonable. And also, the other point that she brought up to us was the standards, even that for the 40B, she said, the rainstorms that we're getting now and the weather that we're getting now are not the same storms that these standards were designed for initially. She said, we're getting much heavier storms now than these regulations were set up for. The rains are heavier. And we've been mitigating a situation for a year and a half, 2 years, and the contractor has done a nice job on what he's done. But we don't want to end up with another Kucha and another Lewis Drive. This is the time to resolve it. So I would argue that, delay it, not deny it, delay it until everything is together, everything is compatible and taken into consideration. No one's saying deny, delay until everything is compatible and working together under the conditions that will work.
I think what Fred was talking about, the two systems, is, we know he talked about the mounting, and the concern. I mean, my background is water and wastewater design treatment plants, so I do know a little bit of what he's talking about. My concern is that there's supposed to be a 4-foot difference between where the groundwater is and the bottom of the leaching field. So until we know where that is permanent, where it is, I would like to see both systems work together. And I think that's what Fred was getting at. Instead of doing one and then coming back later on, you may find out that when the mounding gets done, the groundwater will be higher. And if it's higher than the 4 feet, then you're not going to know where the leaching field is going to be. And the other comment was, when we were talking with Kristen, she commented that, you know, the standards for 40 or less. My question is, or my concern is, that when I design water and wastewater treatment plants, 60 gallons per capita per day is a very low number. The numbers that you normally would see would be between 75, 80, maybe 90 gallons per capita per day. I think if we all looked at our household, how much water we're actually using. Yes, people are trying to conserve with water, but 60 gallons per capita per day is the number. And unfortunately, if these residents at this 40B housing use more water, it's going to tax the system, and then the system may fail.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think we need to take any time. I appreciate the opportunity to put our word in. We're just trying to be responsible citizens. And again, we've got down gradient people who've been concerned about what's happened in Blue Haven, and we're just echoing the same concerns, because down gradient from all that, of course, is our source of drinking water. So, thank you very much.
The only comment I'll make is that there are a lot of engineers working out there. The developer's engineer, we have a peer reviewer looking at these things, and then we all have a lot of confidence in Bill Renault. This is kind of his thing. He does this every day for the town of Wakefield as the town engineer. So, I think that obviously we want the best product at the end of this thing. You know, the town's got to live with it. The abutters have to live next door to it, and I think that's the intent.
Could we see, I think it was slide 30 or 31, could we see, you mentioned where the water was going to run off into Blue Haven? Could we just see that slide and just point out to us?
Is that the
where
site
water's
plan?
actually gonna run into Blue Haven? Sure.
So you want site plans?
I think it was slide 30 or 31, if I remember looking at it.
Can you do it? All right.
You have just one infiltration chamber at this point? Is that?
Well, that's not coming into focus.
Make it bigger, too.
I'm going to get one of those.
2 hands.
Oh, we get the general sense.
But just,
So, a few things. First of all, from a drainage standpoint, there's a piece of drainage, piece of the existing site that goes
Just
straight.
don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Oh.
Well, good night, everybody.
Good.
Hold on, let me get it back through this.
I'm not gonna go near it. So we have an area over here that goes directly to Blue Haven. We have the middle of the site that goes on to the Angelica site. And there's a small portion that goes up to Boston Street. So the development of the grading here will send this water that usually goes here into our system. And then this area that goes to Boston Street will get contained in our system. And then our discharge point is the 8-inch pipe in 114. So we have one main infiltration area here, a very small one here, and one over in here that's helping us with the surcharge problem down at the 8-inch pipe. So with regards to, so that's all collected, put into this system, and then the overflows from both these systems come this way and out to the 8-inch pipe. So it's redirecting some of this water that normally goes there into the system, attenuating it and sending it out to the state system. So with regard to the septic system question, we have provided sufficient detail on the septic system in the sizing criteria, and it's based on 110 gallons per bedroom per day, which is the Title V requirements. And in our estimation, or not in our estimation, but in extensive research that I was involved with a few years ago for DEP in a stakeholders group talking about wastewater flow design flows. We looked at design flows from multifamily residential all over the country to get a handle on what is the right number. And so with the knowledge that 110 gallons per bedroom per day is just too high. It's not realized, especially the higher, the bigger the project, the more units. So these are all 1 and 2 bedroom units. There's just a few 3 bedrooms, but we don't at all feel we're going to be putting out the 110 gallons per bedroom. It's going to be more like 50 gallons, 50 to 60 gallons.
What about,
So
what about parking lot runoff, roof runoff?
parking lot runoff and roof runoff all goes into our system. There is not a drop that will land on the roof or the parking lot that we don't collect,
I know, but I'm
put
saying,
into our system and discharge.
but it's all going into the ground too, right?
Right. So, so with regard to the septic system, we have provided sufficient detail in the sizing of that system, the configuration of that system. It's 2x2 trenches. There's 23 of them, 100 feet long. We've provided the elevation of the bottom of that system and demonstrated that it meets not only 4 feet from seasonal high groundwater, but we did the mounding analysis and added the permanent mound under the system to that 4 feet, so that's there. With regards to the stormwater, we looked at the stormwater entering this system and this system and put that into the same mounding model. So the mounding model looks at the contribution of both the septic output and the infiltration output. Now, the septic output is every day. So that's, every day we'll be putting that water into the ground, and it creates what's called a permanent mound underneath the system. It raises permanently the water table. And that mound dissipates as it goes away from the center in kind of a bell curve. There's a contribution from the infiltration that happens in that mound, but that is comes into play and then goes away. That's not a permanent mound. It's a temporary mound when it rains, but that's all within our calculations. It's all considered with regards to our assertion that we're not going to impact the groundwater.
Is there a calculation of how far out it goes to
Yes.
raise the water table? How far
Yes.
out does that go?
So,
Excuse me. Just, in a public hearing, you direct all comments through the
Oh.
chairman?
Okay.
Just while you're looking for that, I'm presuming TEC has all these calculations, they are reviewing them?
they do. So, this is a diagram. We took the Blue Haven design plans and merged them with ours, and we have radial depictions of the permanent mound. So here it's 0.2 feet, here it's 0.15 feet, and here it's 0.1 feet. And the methodology within that we're using is called the Hand-Touche method for doing a mounding analysis. And there's parameters that we put in there with regards to the porosity of the soil, what's called the saturated thickness, which is basically the distance from the groundwater down to the ledge, and the transmissivity of the soils. All those parameters go in there, and they predict and they look at the area, which is the red box, which is the septic system. That's the area of loading. So it's given the length and the width and the elevation of that, and then it predicts the mound under the system. So under the system, it's 0.4. And again, at these radial distances at 0.2, 0.15, and 0.1. We also looked at the test pit information that was provided to the town when Blue Haven was approved, and there's test pits throughout here that gave the groundwater elevations throughout that site. Looked at the basement floor elevations that are proposed, and I'm estimating, or I'm assuming that they're generally what was built with regards to the basement elevations. And all of the basement elevations that are shown here on the proposed plans, when compared to the soil test data that Williams and Sparagis did on that site, had all of these basements above the groundwater, sufficiently that 0.15 or 0.1 is not going to have an impact. More importantly, we have to talk about the hand-touch method. And the methodology is such that that bell curve of the mound spikes very sharp and drops off, degrades. The mound degrades very, very quickly as it goes down, but it never reaches zero, mathematically. So it's mathematically impossible to use this methodology and find what distance zero is. So essentially, 0.1 and 0.2 are within the level of accuracy of the methodology, and or essentially it's zero. It's negligible. It's unmeasurable. It's not an impact. So we feel confident in the analysis that we've done. The methodology is prescribed in Title V. When doing a mounding analysis, it says the hand-touch method is an acceptable method to use to do the mounding analysis. We've presented all that data to EC, and we hope at the February meeting they come back and corroborate that we've run the numbers correctly.
So through the chair, just to get my question answered, so how far out does it raise the water table into Blue Haven? You did answer that question.
This is, I think this is 300 feet.
Yeah, so how much does it raise the water table to answer my
0.1. 0.1
inch
feet.
0.1
feet.
All right, so a couple of,
But again, we looked at the water table elevation from Williams and Sparagis at these locations. They were feet below the cellar floors that were prescribed for all these units. And none of them did we see anywhere where Williams and Sparagis.
and that's at the peak? That's at the peak? That's at the 0.1 at the peak?
That's the peak mount. Right.
Thank you.
So more to come. Once we get TEC's comments, Mr. Reynolds here, we can wrap up any additional comments or questions on this. Anyone else from the public have any questions or comments on the discussion topics this evening? Okay. I guess we will continue to our next meeting,
February 15th
February 15th.
at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next up.
So moved.
Oh, yes, so we have to, thank you. And do I have a second to continue? Yes, I was so anxious to get to the next thing. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Craig. Boy, I love when you see it.
Slide that in.
All right, next up is 336 North Main Street. I understand that they have request to continue till our next meeting. Katrina,
Okay, well,
is that the case?
I'm sorry?
336 has requested a continuance?
Miss Mann is here. I think she's trying to make her way to the front.
Okay.
I didn't get a letter, but she did say that they would be looking for continuance.
Yes, Counselor. I understand you're requesting a continuance.
I am. Please.
Okay.
Till when?
How about we
Because I'm
Not your
assuming.
special meeting in March, but your
Right.
end of the month meeting in March. I think it's better just
28th.
to,
So just-
I don't know what that date is.
No, but just 1 month is all you want, or you want to push it
I
out
think
longer?
that'll be almost 2 months, I think would be okay there.
So March 28th?
If it pleases the board, yes.
Yeah. I ran into the town manager from North Andover.
Oh, yes.
At Mass Municipal on Friday. Was there a call there or something? And there was a little confusion as to who was responding and all of this kind of stuff. I don't know if that has anything to do with this. I do know that there's still the issue of water. Is
It's
that
the
right?
issue of, and I apologize, I just don't understand this, the water of, the mixing of the water. So there's chemicals in Middleton's water, chemicals in North Andover's water, and their fear is if the two meet, it
They'll
will
catch
cause
on
it-
fire. Yeah.
Like some
Honestly,
Ghostbusters stuff, right?
yes,
We're gonna, like, cross
probably
the
turn it
streams
blue.
and-
You know, but there is, that's truly the concern.
Probably better addressed when Bill's here.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Understand it, but as it was explained by Paul Goodwin to me seems like everyone is open to the interconnection if the interconnection is constructed and paid for by the developer. But there's a lot of research that has to go in to make sure that the two water systems are compatible. Yeah, the way that Danvers treats our water and the way that North Andover's water is treated, that if they do mix on the interconnection, you're not gonna have any funny chemical reaction or,
Green hair for everybody.
It'd end up turning
yeah, so
color.
it's probably more appropriate for when Bill's here, but that's kind of the,
So is March late enough for you?
I believe so.
Okay, so I'll accept the motion that we continue 336 North Main Street to our March 28th meeting.
So moved.
Second, I have a motion made and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Okay. Next up, 14 Birch Road. Applicant Free Throw, LLC.
Big throws.
Free Throws with a Z. Oh, it's better with the glasses on. All right.
Dying, I'm
I
going
believe
back.
the last time, we needed to see a site plan or a floor plan or something, right? Which we have.
revised plan, Chuck.
Say that again, Scott?
Revised site plan, revised floor plans.
Yeah, revised floor plan, which I believe is right.
Sorry, I had So, good evening, Jill and Deanne here. We have a Free Throws LLC here with me this evening. Barry, who is the principal, who spoke a little bit last time. One of the questions that remained in the board's mind was, can you really get us an updated floor plan that the architect, Phil Kritkos, actually signed and then provided the total occupancy number? What I did was Scott, Mr. Fitzpatrick and I discussed the occupancy level and discussed the requirement and mass building code relative to how you determine occupancy. And then the fact that our parking numbers are actually based on division of 3. So if you have an occupant load like this particular space has of 35, your requirement would be basically 12 spaces. So what I had done was I prepared a table based on the occupancy load that was shown on Mr. Kritkos' second floor plan, as well as what he uses of first floor plan. So essentially, I'm just going to walk through it. So you have a total of 116 occupants for the entire second floor. And if you look at just pure occupancy numbers and what our bylaw requires, divide by 3, you get 39. The issue is, when you look at a 35-person occupancy, they're including children in the number. So it doesn't work when you talk about youth sports. So what I prepared and what I presented in this chart was I simply eliminated the sport court occupancy number, and I made the 10. You would have to have 10 parking spaces for children. I made it 0, and the result is that this particular second floor, including the baseball facility, would require 29 parking spaces. The first floor, which is, it is a receiving area, shipping and receiving. They have one guy who works there who takes it in. But I still attributed, as you can see from the top, I still gave it 5 parking spaces. So what it requires is 34 parking spaces if this board chooses to waive, which requires a special permit vote, the parking requirement for the children. So that was really the crux of the entire issue. And we have 35 parking spaces on site. They're not really well lined, so one of the things that the owner has agreed to do for Mr. Safarian is actually to go out and reline the spaces because they're oddly done. And again, you have the plan from, signed and stamped by a licensed architect.
We'll go to the members. Craig, any questions, comments?
Like, to get any feedback from the building commissioner.
I just, but even before we get there, so the, you base this on children being there, right? So, in our permit, do we, how do we control the fact that, you know, we're starting out, we're making an assumption it's gonna be children, and at some point, you know what, we now have adults in there, 17 and above, right? Because they can drive a car. So how do we deal with that assumption?
Right, it's the physical layout of the property. You can't have adults playing basketball in this facility, it's too short a ceiling. But Mr. Safarian can actually address that for you.
Please.
Mr. Benevento, can you approach that? Just explain the dynamic of your facility. And how come you're not going to, basically his question was about how can you be sure that you're not going to have 17-year-old people playing basketball?
Yeah. Okay. I'm Shahab Afsharian, and what we're proposing is a space for kids around 5 to 12, 13 years old. The ceilings won't be applicable for adults. We only have 16.
I'm an adult, I'm like 5'5".
Well, you can come.
But you can shoot a lot higher, I would think.
Yeah, so our business, we run flag football, we run basketball, we run it for kids. That's our market. We don't envision having adults come. Our main purpose is for kids to develop their skills in basketball, and because that's what we have been doing for the last 20 years.
Scott, you want to weigh in on this, please?
Well, Jill had the plan updated, or Attorney Mann had the plan updated. The 39 parking spots required includes the already permitted baseball facility up there. So that's how it calculates per the bylaw. I don't know, I know we had some comments last meeting about the parking from an abutting property or...
Are you comfortable with this calculation? And
Oh, the 39's right, we went over it.
Okay.
The reduction, I don't have an opinion on either way, that's you guys.
Craig, did you have additional comments or questions for Scott?
I was gonna ask his opinion, but he's not gonna give it, so that's fine.
I mean, I don't know what the current situation with the this board's already permitted a baseball facility on the other half of the upper floor that is actively using it. There's a training facility, and
Have we had issues with parking there in the past?
I believe there was an abutter that sent a letter that was read into the record last time. One of the abutting properties down there.
Since then, we
And
did talk to...
And I believe at least the baseball facility, they train at least through high school age kids. The owner coached at a local high school and now's at a local prep school, and I believe he's training at least through the high school age kids at the facility. I'm not sure what this group does.
Ann?
Can the special permit be state that this is only a children's facility?
You can actually, so special permits can be tagged to a business, so you can literally permit just to Mr. Safarian. You can say, listen, this is for your business, and your business is 8 children under the age of 16. You absolutely can, yes. And then if anybody were to come back and try to open up another recreational facility, they would have to come back to the board because the permit would not be good. And because it's a special permit, it gets recorded with the Registry of Deeds, so everybody's on notice. It's not like, some hidden condition on a site plan or something. It's in the public record.
Carolyn?
Yes, I have questions. Or just really one question. Is there any sort of evidence base for reducing the parking spaces based on it being a facility where kids are getting dropped off? This can't be the first time that somebody has opened something where kids are getting dropped off. There's plenty of places like that. I just don't know, like, has
Typically, I
anybody
think
else
there's
done
never a
that?
shortage of
Or-
parking, because in Middleton, we have enough parking everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
We have seas of
and
parking.
if I may, right, this is, I get it, and the board has to be mindful, because once you make a decision, you need to carry through. That's why I understand, that's why we did all the work with regard to the parking. But this is on Birch, and there is tons of on-street parking. Not that that matters, I'm just saying if there were an issue, there is tons of on-street parking, to your point. But, this particular facility, they do drop off, because who wants to sit there in a cold room, waiting? And is there any example of it? In Middleton, there isn't, and I'll be honest, even in other communities where I've had it approved, there isn't. This is kind of, I don't know, it just, they don't provide for it. Or, the individual communities, like the planning boards, all have the right, like you do, to modify your requirements, and I think that's typically what happens. But Scott, do you have any idea, like in Malden, they have a lot of stuff in less parking?
Well, I
Do
mean,
they
as a
have a
parent with
different
someone who has
standard?
kids, I mean, I didn't,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know. I used to
typically,
drop
you know,
off and go, but.
If I'm driving and I'm not local, I'm staying and I'm watching. So, I don't know where your clientele comes from. If they're local, Middleton and in the Danvers area, maybe it makes sense. But if they're only there for a half, I don't know how long your training sessions are either. But,
They're an hour, right?
Per an hour. We're trying to also partner up with like the 99 that just opened up and say like, hey, the parents are not going to be able to park here, but what if they come and would you give us some coupons
I
and
guess
stuff like
that's
that
another.
to activate some of the like I just talked to Best Bagels too, like like what can we do on the weekends? So
I mean,
that way we
I
can
just-
send some flow over there.
We've been back and forth with another facility in town that we actually didn't permit, but we've been dealing with the parking problem for well over a year, up on the state property. And, and that idea has been floated a bunch of times. Oh, well, no one comes and watches their games, but I think any of us that have kids that play sports in this room.
This is not a game. We're
No,
not
no,
gonna
I
be-
understand,
no, no,
but if they're not local to Middleton and it's an hour training session, if you're training people from Saugus, it just time-wise, it doesn't make sense. You're not gonna drive to your facility, drop the person off, your child off, and then drive back to Saugus and come get them.
So-
If you live in Middleton, or, maybe you'll run over to Market Basket, you do a quick shopping and pick them up.
So we actually meet the bylaw, by the way, this facility does, because we have dedicated to us 13 parking spaces from the landlord. The issue is that when the baseball facility was permitted, there was no conversation relative to it. That's why I'm here with this request, because I'm trying to get the whole second floor. We have them. This particular, that's what I mean, I have no idea
Well,
what they
Jim,
use
when the
in back.
baseball facility was permitted, the half of the second floor that this gentleman's
Was
rented.
warehouse.
Was warehouse, so
Yep.
their occupant load, I think, was like 4.
Right, but I
So
don't.
all of the parking at that time, and it was a different building owner, was looked at for the baseball facility, and the argument for the baseball facility at the time was that all of the other space in the building, the balance of the second floor and the whole first floor was warehouse and had next to no occupant load, and had next to no parking requirement, so.
For us, though, I know that, I can't say for sure, but I don't know what the other tenant has for parking space. I find it hard to believe they had dedicated, 30 parking spaces, but I can tell you that our lease does provide that.
Well, it wouldn't have been, it's 39 for the whole top floor.
Right, and so
But
we have.
When they came in, say their occupant load is half of that, their parking requirement would have been, the building itself, when it was looked at, would have been compliant.
Yeah, and I understand, and that's why I think that at the time, there probably wasn't like a discussion, well, how many parking spaces do you have under your lease? I can tell you that he has enough to meet his demand, like he has 35, we have 13 parking spaces. But I wasn't gonna, I knew what the board really wanted to know. You really wanted to know, is there enough parking? So that's why I wanted to tell you what the whole first floor was, what the first floor was, what the second floor was, and then to let you know with confidence, he actually does have the right to use 13 parking spaces, a legal right. I don't know what anybody else has, Mr. Fitzpatrick. I have no idea, and I'm not
That's an issue where if
representing
a
it.
landlord, a new landlord is now basically
Uh-huh.
double renting spots that were already counted for. You have two different things. You have what was legally permitted.
Yep.
And what the lease, they're two totally separate
I agree.
issues. The other thing, I've never been up there at night when the Antonelli facility is operating. I don't know if any of, so I don't know what it looks like as far as their parking requirement. The only thing I'm aware of is the letter from the abutter.
And the reason people just weren't parking behind the building, they were just parking in front and across the street. That's why there was the complaint. And you probably want to hear from him, not from me about this, but Mr. Varian actually spoke to immediately after getting that letter, went across the street and talked to the owner of the property. They've since, yeah, I think you did. And-
No, he did,
Oh,
saying
he
like
did.
it
He
wasn't a
sent it.
problem, that they fixed it. I
So
also
there's no
plan
issue.
to talk to Antonelli to make sure that we schedule it right? It's all about scheduling the drop-offs.
It is, and that's the issue
So-
that the
so-
town's been having up at Manning Ave.
Yeah.
Is
And
a lack of
they only
coordination of
have
scheduling.
4 lines of batting cages, and, after they send that email, and I saw the email that the landlord sent it to me, like, the parents just drop off and then they just come back and pick them up. The only problem was, like, the lines were not delineated, and we asked the landlord, we have a confirmation from him that he's gonna do it. There's a disposal, garbage
That was
thing
supposed to be
there that
removed a
he's
while
gonna
ago,
go,
yeah.
right, and that takes like 5 spaces. So obviously, we are ready to like, schedule it. I can't really talk to Mr. Antonelli to see what we can do schedule-wise, because we don't know if we're gonna be able to.
So just in simple terms, how many parking spaces are required if it were not kids, originally, 39?
Yes.
And how many are available?
39, but we have to count the 5 from downstairs, Mr. Benevento. So it's 44.
So you need.
44 with the whole
so-
building.
So if you do the calculation, forget the height of the kids,
Yep,
it's 44 spaces.
yes,
And how many do we have?
39,
39. So you're short 5 spaces?
yes.
Okay. And your argument is that if this was, the calculation was based on children being there, how many would you need?
30, what did I say, 20, 34,
34. So,
up and down.
so you'd have 5, so instead of having 5 surplus spaces, under the straight calculation, you're in a deficit of 5 spaces. Is that right?
Wait a second, you know what,
10, right?
I misspoke. It's 35 total. I apologize. 35, we're required to have 44. We're 9 at a deficit, Mr. Benevento. I apologize.
Right now?
Yes.
Right now, there's 9 deficit if you count every single occupant. 9 deficit, I'm sorry.
It was a little confusing.
I know, I'm sorry.
Your chart said parking required 39, parking requirement based on waiver 29. It almost looked as if you were looking for a waiver for 29
No, I meant
spots.
just for the 10. I know, I just did the
So
chart.
it's 10 spots you're
It's,
deficient
10 spots
on the whole building.
on the whole bill, because I have 39 required just for this. I have 5, I did 5 because one facility requires 5 spaces, and it's 1. So even though it's only 1.2 person per one, there's only 1 person downstairs, I still have to give it 5.
What's going on downstairs?
It's a
Warehouse.
warehouse, shipping, receiving.
But it's 10 deficient for the whole building, not 10 for the second floor, or 10 for the occupant,
10 deficient for
for
the
the whole
entire building.
facility.
9, actually.
Nine.
It's
Nine.
44, 9 deficient for the whole.
44.
And then if you allowed the waiver, we're 1 in surplus, Mr. Benevento.
Can the landlord not restripe it so that there's ample?
Really
Is it
odd,
is the striping
Yeah.
optimized?
It's a weird lot.
It's a
Yeah.
oddly
He
shaped,
made-
the building's located in
Right now, Ms.
Odd.
Snyder,
Yeah.
right now, there are literally 35 parking spaces. And the only thing that he needs to come out and fix are the 5 that have that dumpster, and he was going to move it. So we weren't trying to redesign the parking. Do I think he probably could add more? You know what, I can't say.
There's wetlands there too, so if you're looking at it on the plot plan,
Yeah.
you know, the lot is bigger, but what's actually paved and usable
Right,
is,
and I'd be hesitant to try and say to you that I can, because it's a shipping receiving place, so he needs the space that he has. I'm
And
just
they don't
trying to
work
be
nights, right?
abundantly transparent. I mean, but we're 5 deficient, and truly, if the board could see fit, we could easily have 5 spaces on Birch Street. I mean, it's easy to find that because Birch is, this is the end. This is where you drive into the Division of Wildlife and Fisheries. And I realize this is an oddity. I do. I mean, and that's why, when you're looking at children and adults, you really are double counting because you can't have children and adults coming separately. They come together.
It's a warehouse on Monday through Friday?
Yes.
9 to 5, like
Yes.
9
It's
to
not-
5
it's
to 8 to 4?
6 to 3 or 6
And when
to
is this
7.
operating?
Afternoons, 5 to 9.
5 to 9?
Yeah, after school, like programs and stuff like that.
Comments, questions?
Doesn't that solve it, kind of? If they're there in the evening and everybody else is there during the day, doesn't it help the situation?
Yeah, we're pretty much,
The baseball's there in the
Baseball's
evening,
there,
too.
Yeah,
It's
right.
the warehouse that's not there.
Right, so
But
doesn't
to your
that help
point-
the situation?
You mean the 39, right,
Helps
Ms.?
Yeah.
5 spots or whatever, that's accounted
Well,
for
because
the lower level.
to Ms. Cody's point, we have 39 demand at night, and we have we have 39 demand at night, we only have 35.
Will the
That's
landlord
where the
allow
problem is.
parking in the loading docks after
Yes.
hours?
He doesn't care, park everywhere.
yeah, we have the written, that we are able to use all spaces after hours.
But the
We still
30,
have that
the
4.
spots that are laid out on the site, they're not counting the loading docks for parking spots, right?
The 30, oh, the loading docks themselves, no, because
So he's
they're
allowed to
really,
use-
I don't know.
So I
how
think
you-
we'd want you'd want to stripe those. You can have a sign,
Maybe
no
sign
parking.
till
no-
after 5
Yeah.
or whatever
And the only
the,
reason I didn't include is because what happens if something's there, I mean, it's 35. If we strike them, we do have more.
if he allows a parking after a certain time.
He does.
Yeah.
After 5, he's not concerned, and that's why, so Shahab during the day actually has 5 dedicated spaces, even from 9 to 5, no matter what he has those. But
Okay.
at night, he has.
So, in order to move this along, can this be permanent in such a way that assurances are giving to the building commissioner that the loading docks will be restriped, that the owner is allowing parking in other areas after a certain time of day, that kind of thing?
Do we want to require that, or do we want to just take it into consideration as an option that's available?
Say taken into consideration as an option.
Right.
Because ultimately, if they park in the neighbor's lot, the neighbor's gonna tow them,
Right.
and they'll only do that once.
If they park at the loading dock, and the landlord's going to tow them if they're not allowed. so-
Yep, and they'll do that once, after they get their car towed.
But-
Is
But
Birch,
how about if we condition the special permit that any additional parking spaces may be added at the building commissioner's discretion?
oh,
That way it would fall under we would say that adding that additional parking would be a minor modification that would not require an additional approval.
there you go.
Follow me, Attorney Mann?
Yeah. So if there's an issue relative to parking, then he will add additional spaces as a condition,
And
and
the
then we'll
building
come back
commissioner
with a
won't-
mod to show you.
Well, it'd just be a plan for the file at that point.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, I can just go through you
Yeah, it'd be a
then?
plan for the file at that point.
Okay, so I just, no public meeting, just hand it to the
That's what
building
he's
inspector.
Yeah,
suggesting
that
be added.
We're basically gonna make the loading docks banked parking, like we would a grassy area.
So just
So
like we do before.
those are banked
Yep.
at the discretion of the building commissioner as needed by the landlord and the tenants as,
And you can make them do that.
when we're saying it's,
Yeah, if they don't.
Again, as a condition of that permit and then revoke.
Okay. So do we think we have this? Okay. Anyone from the public here have any question or comment on this? Hearing none. All right.
Mr. Chair, I will make a motion that the board make the following findings. First, that the recreational use of the property is not substantially more detrimental. Excuse me, based on the evidence presented in the testimony offered to the board, that the recreational use at the property is not substantially more detrimental than other permitted industrial commercial uses of the property. The facility will be complementary to and will not conflict with the neighboring uses. 3, that the recreational use provides an amenity to the town that satisfies the community's need to support youth sports and to foster team building, health, and physical activities. 4, that the facility will not substantially increase traffic to and from the property. 5, that based on the parking calculation table, the uses of the first floor and the maximum number of occupants allowed in the facility and at the abutting baseball training facility, excluding the 30 minors who are included in the total number of occupants, the property has sufficient number of parking spaces to meet the needs of the first and second floor occupants. 6, the property has existing electrical service through Middleton Electric Light Department and a water supply line from the town's municipal water department, a private septic system that has more than sufficient capacity to handle flow from the facility. 7, that the facility will not require any changes to the exterior of the property or building and will not require the use of any hazardous materials. And lastly, that by approving the facility, the board is supporting new business that will ensure the economic vitality of Middleton's commercial base.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Chair, based on those findings and the board's authority to grant such relief under section 9.4 of the bylaws, I will move to issue the special permit under section 3.1.2 in the table of use regulations C24 to authorize the indoor recreational use. With the general conditions and also including the condition that the loading areas may be used as additional parking at the discretion of the building commissioner upon his written approval.
Now say about the plans being submitted to verify it with Mr. Fitzgerald.
Upon submission and approval of an updated site plan,
Yep.
showing the parking spaces in the loading dock areas.
Sure thing.
All right.
Does
Good.
that work?
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Motion made and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
And one more, I will, based on those findings and the board's authority to grant such relief under 5.1.6 of the bylaws, I'll move to issue a special permit to waive strict compliance with the parking requirements for the assembly use, which is 1 parking space for each occupant, and to allow solely for the purposes of determining the required number of parking spaces at the property, the petitioner to exclude from the total occupant count the occupant load for the playing courts and practice areas that will be used by minor occupants, subject to the facility being limited to use by minor children.
We want to define minor children up to the age of 16?
How do we
How
want to,
does the state define that?
well, what do we?
16, they can't drive yet, right?
So if it's under the age of 16, they cannot drive, and they won't be.
Up to and including 16?
Up to including 16.
High school kids? No?
Well, I was gonna,
Well, high
that's,
school's 14, 15, so you're better off saying 16, if they can't drive.
High school can go up to 18,
Yeah, so that's why if you say, oh yeah, we'll just say 16. Because they can't drive when you're 16. Can you drive when you're all alone when you're 16?
No.
16 and a half.
16 and a half.
No, but when you're 16, like, do you have to be, like.
16 to
now
get your permit.
requirement? Oh, and then 16 and a half, you're allowed to drive alone, but can't drive with other kids.
You're allowed to apply for your license and take your driver's test at 16 and a half, and then you can't drive after dusk.
If they're
Oh,
Or
17,
with
they
other,
can't
in
come
with
in.
other kids.
Or with another kid. in the
well,
car.
that's why, I mean,
Like if a mom drops off a kid in high school, 17, and wants to go practice, can he?
Yeah.
So what's the age restriction, just on the, as long as it's a drop-off? So if we say 16.
I guess I'm kind of going back to that too, like,
How do you,
Because there's kids that are gonna be in high school in Middleton, right? Like they want to probably come and shoot, right? Like probably 16, 17 in the tribal team. So I suggest
13.
that if they drop off, they should let them. It's just practicing. It's like an arcade. They're gonna be bouncing back the balls. They're gonna go for 30 minutes and then they walk.
I understand all that, but at 17 years old, you could be driving, looking for a parking space and park across the street and get towed, and mom's gonna be upset.
Yeah, but
It'll be like 6 feet tall.
I thought the facility was
Like-
for children.
it is for children, yeah.
You're just saying that the older kids could come in and use it?
No, we're saying, we're delineating when can they stop. Like 16 and a half, we would have like a
saying if like a high school AAU team wants to come in and they got 10 guys on the team and they want to shoot foul shots for an hour, he wants them to be able to come in.
What about this, can we do special events where if there's going to be anybody over the age of 6? Yeah, see, you don't like that.
No way.
Why can't it just be 18 and under? I mean, under 18.
Well, we're backtracking from where we were during the whole presentation. It was all, I think,
Kids, little kids.
kids, and I think we heard up to 12 or,
It's up to 16, just a blanket. He's not going to allow the kids who are over, you know, it's just in condition.
It's just that, this says minor, minor children, so I
Yeah,
think
that's
that needs to be
minor.
defined.
If they don't have licenses, you can't card them, right? Only if they have licenses.
Loophole.
Craig, how you feeling?
I mean, honestly, if you have sorry, not to interrupt you, Craig, if you have high school kids, I mean, they might come together. You might have, I know how, my son and their hockey team, 2 or 3 of them come together. They pick each other up, not everyone drives, and
Yeah, I guess I'm less concerned just because of the nature of the facility.
Maybe no.
It's not like we're getting like an 8-team basketball tournament that's gonna come in here and have it's literally like
Right.
a club team's gonna come in and shoot shots for an hour and leave, I'm gonna go grab a
Aren't you, Scott,
couple
able
errands and come
to
back and
add
pick them up later.
the spaces that brings them up to where they need to be by?
possibly. I mean, we have to see the layout, but
But you just
I mean,
want to put 18 on it? Wanna
you're
put a
splitting
number on it?
hairs between 16 and 18.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Just say
And
children.
I can tell you, I'm not going to car.
I'm not putting that in there, that's why.
18 and under, they can't, they're minors, right?
And if
we
we
will-
see a
we will
men's
not
league in
cater
there
to that,
starting
but-
to
Yeah,
play,
that
that's
would be
gonna
a
be a problem.
problem.
Right.
We don't want those problems too,
Yeah.
like, our focus is gonna be the little kids, but I just don't wanna be like, oh, let me see your ID at 16 and,
Right.
we can
So
just say,
leave
to
it at
the-
minor
if the
children.
travel team comes, I'll talk to the coach and say like, no one can drive.
Leave it as read,
Minor children.
with minor children, and then it's.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, motion made. You want to read, we don't need to read it again, do we? Okay, thankfully. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ian. Any additional discussion? Thankfully. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
All right, good luck. So there is a 20-day appeal period?
Yes, you know.
So that's good?
And you can't move in until you have an occupancy permit.
Yep.
And you're gonna need a building permit for the work that needs to be done, and
I have 3 boys and they were like so excited to.
in the code review that we talked to the architect about on the
Phil
bathroom
knows
count and
he
all
knows
that,
he's
so.
gonna Start doing construction
Yep.
subject to this.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
You guys.
All right. Next up, new public hearings for Forms Way, site plan modification of approved site plan. Request to increase fenced area. Madam Clerk, please read the
Yep.
legal ad.
Four Forms Way LLC requests a site plan modification for the property at Four Forms Way. The public hearing held on January 25th, 2024 at Fuller Meadow. Information on the application is available at the Office of Town Clerk, 48 South Main Street. Any person, blah, blah. That's all I got. And we do have one letter.
Do we have comments?
Public notice, yeah, so I said we have one.
Okay.
Want it now or later?
Let's them make their presentation, and then we'll read the comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Greg Richard. I represent Four Forms Way LLC, the applicant. Before I start the presentation, I don't know if the board has this yet. I did get a letter of approval from the abutter at 3-13 Runlet Way, which is the building here to the rear of the site. I got it today, so I didn't have a chance to forward it before Katrina was here today. So if you want copies, I can hand out copies of that. Please, the chairman.
That's fine, yeah. you
May I
can-
take one, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have additional copies if anybody else wants one.
I'll take one, and then we'll pass it around. Doesn't look like it's a long letter.
Yeah.
Could I have one for the record?
Yes.
Maybe someone could read it. Yeah, can we read it into the record?
Yeah, you can read it. Do you want to do it with the other one, letter too, or you want to?
Why don't you read this one into the record? Sure.
Okay. This is dated January 25th, 2024. from Georgetown Plaza Trust, Chairman and members of the board. We are the owners of Fox Run Plaza at 3 through 13 Runlet Way, also known as 215 South Main Street, which directly abuts 4 Forms Way at the rear of the property. We have been provided and reviewed the new site plan dated December 21st, 2023, proposed by Michelle Pizzullo and 4 Forms Way LLC, and we wish to express our full support for our approval of this plan, and that's from Neil Tagerman, trustee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So just as a reminder, we were here before the board in December, where we requested approval for a minor modification to the site plan.
I'm trying to flip it for you.
Sorry. At that meeting, we had presented what the changes were to the site compared to the original approved site plan, which primarily was the fenced area on the side of the building. We just provided the as-line numbering of the parking spaces. The dumpster was moved from one side to the other, and the rear recreational area that was originally going to have pervious pavers instead of grassed area, we changed the pervious pavers just to leave it as is, as a grassed area. At that meeting, the board requested that we submit an application for a public hearing on this, which we did. There's been no changes to the plan submitted with the application compared to what we were here last week or last month. But just to refresh, last year last January 2023, we were before the board for a special permit for use as a kennel, which was approved by this board. My client at that time, that was approved in January, my client purchased the premises in June of 2023, so 6 months later, after she purchased the property, when she started doing the exterior renovation, she realized that the side fenced-in area needed to be enlarged because of 2 large bay doors and another regular-sized door on that side. So to contain the dogs for their safety, that was put in. Just moving the dumpster from off of the private way, Forms Way, to the other side, and just not really having the need now for the permeable pavers, wants to leave it as a grassed area. So we're just looking for approval from the board to approve the modified site plan as proposed, and we've also requested just a waiver of the technical requirements for the site plan, which we asked for at the original application for the original site plan, which was approved, but just to bootstrap that.
Okay. And I may have missed this during your presentation.
Sure.
2 questions. One, we're not changing any of the parking, correct?
Right, we were approved for 20 parking spaces, so the 20 parking spaces are
So
provided here.
you're maintaining the 20 that were approved before?
Yes.
And I recall on the previous plan, there was a dumpster.
Yeah, the dumpster on the original plan was closer to here, and it's been moved to sort of the rear of the property off of the private way.
Okay.
And just to offer the feedback, when we were at the planning board meeting a couple weeks ago, the planning board actually preferred the dumpster to be in that area off of the private way.
Okay. Members, Ann? All set? Okay. Carolyn?
All set.
Good. Greg?
Works for me.
Mr. Chair, I do have one request before you go into vote from my client. At the last meeting, what was allowed, or the olive branch that was extended, was that we could use the side fencing area, but not the rear recreational area, which my client has complied with. But if the board is inclined to grant the approval on this, we're just looking to see if we could have approval now to use both fencing areas if my client needs to, understanding that there's going to be a 20-day appeal period for this, but.
What is the fencing?
What's that?
What is the fencing?
It's a 8-foot white vinyl fencing, so it's.
Solid fence?
Solid fence.
Not like chain link?
It's not chain link, it's solid vinyl.
Scott?
They have the chain link areas within the white. Yeah.
So, all right, so it's screened,
Oh, yeah.
essentially, the area.
I'm sorry, are you asking about the rear recreational area or the side?
I'm asking about the area you're asking for now.
Yeah, that's the rear recreational. Is there chain link fencing in that rear?
Just at the gate for a secondary.
Yeah.
Mr.
Okay.
Fitzpatrick has seen it.
Yeah, we did the site visit as required after the last meeting, and prior to them using it. And, I think the other thing is if they explain their business model too, it's a lot clearer now what they're using it for. There's not 50, you see that big area and you think there's gonna be 50 dogs running around out there. After doing the site visit, if they explain the business model and how it works, I forget what it was set up for,
So,
a dozen or so back there at tops, maybe?
yeah, so we have a
Want to
lot of.
identify yourself?
Sorry, Michelle Pizzula. So in that 6-foot fenced-in area, there are a number of what we call 5x5, so it's 5 foot by 5 foot kennels that are divided by, like, with gates. So it's all chain, like Mr. Fitzpatrick saw it, they're all capped. So they're individual, we don't have like 50 dogs running around. We're not that place. We don't do that. We only have individual, because we're more of a training facility. Actually, we've rebranded. So we're now New England Canine University. And because we've got the 2 facilities, people come to us for training. We're not a daycare where there's giant groups of dogs. So it's very structured, very organized, very safe for the dogs. It's not a big giant warehouse full of dogs. So I think
Yeah,
that.
doing the walkthrough and hearing the business model and seeing it definitely clarified what's happening there.
Yeah.
Is there anything based on your observations and in the business model that we would need to include as conditions in your mind?
No, I mean,
Okay.
it's
All right.
a nice facility. I mean, they even have treadmills for the dogs to,
Yeah, we have 10 treadmills the dogs get on and exercise, so
I had a
it's
Ja-
very
I had a Jack Ru-
structured.
I had a Jack Russell once, and he didn't get to have playtime. He didn't-
It's very structured, very organized. It's not a giant area with 50 dogs running around. We don't have that.
All right, anything else from the members?
Here's a letter from the Planning Board dated January 11th, 2024, regarding Four Forms Way. At the January 10th, 2024 meeting of the Planning Board, the members reviewed the modified site plan review application for the property at Four Forms Way. The board voted unanimously 5-0 to offer a positive recommendation to the ZBA regarding this project.
Thank you. Anything else? No. All right. Is there anyone here from the public that has any question or comment on this? Hearing none. Mr. Hatwell.
Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to make the following findings. Specifically, that the site plan is compliant with the requirements for parking, loading spaces, lot size, frontage, yard and heights, and coverage of buildings and all other provisions of these bylaws. 2, it demonstrates convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement on the site and for the location of the driveway openings in relation to the street traffic. It is adequate as to the arrangement, and we're not herein specified the number of parking and loading spaces in relation to proposed use. The arrangement and appearance of buildings will be unchanged and are consonant with and meet the requirements for the building structures and landscaping. In addition, the waste disposal, surface and subsurface drainage and lighting will be unaffected by the proposed change in use and remain adequate there too.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Carolyn. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Based on those findings, I will move to approve the site plan as presented with the general conditions and with the condition that the rear.
Well, that was previously permitted, it was just a condition of the
So
temporary
won't-
that we issued,
so
that they weren't gonna use it.
Right, so we don't even have
No,
to
that's-
talk about it because
yeah.
it's not going to carry through anyway,
Okay. Do I have a second?
with the general conditions only.
Second.
Second by Caroline. Motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Can I ask you guys just one question? All that runoff at the end of the road, which I know it's part of your parcel, is that coming off the construction site? Or is that what was there?
Construction that they're doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go talk to them.
Thank you.
The 20-day appeal period, do we have to not use the back for that whole 20 days?
No, you can use it, we just can't issue the full occupancy till the appeal period's
Okay.
up.
We don't really use it, but I just,
use the back.
Yeah,
if I want to take my dog outside, I just want to know if it's okay.
a little disappointed you didn't bring him tonight, but,
Yeah, you met him, he's a nice dog.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, next up, 229 Maple Street, Dipcap and Sandia, Korea, trustees of Korea Property, special permit to expand existing non-conforming structure, to reduce the number of parking spaces.
All right, Deepak and Sanja K. Korea, trustees of Korea Realty Trusts, requesting a special permit and site plan approval for the property at 229 Maple Street to authorize the expansion of the existing non-conforming commercial and residential structure and to decrease the parking requirement for residential units, as well as a modified site plan. Public hearing to be held January 25th, 2024 at Fuller Meadow. And info is available at the town clerk's office. We got a bunch of letters.
Okay. You're up.
Good evening, Jill Mann here on behalf of the trust. Here with me this evening is Love Carey, who's one of the principals, Jared from Cameron Moran, and then also Joan Luna from Luna Designs, architect and engineer. This particular project, everybody knows it, House Station. So the Carey family really wants to renovate that particular property. They need to create some sort of an economic incentive for them to do that, which means they're trying to expand the actual footprint of the store and also create an office space and additional storage so that they can have more product, move more product, and buy it in mass to reduce costs. Do you mind opening just the site plan? So this particular property is absolutely non-conforming. It's a 6,500 square foot lot. It sits on the corner of Maple and Gregory Street. The building itself is only about 1,750 square feet. I think back, it's 1999, 2000, when the owner for the Carriers actually did an expansion to the building. So the building used to just be a square. Now it's kind of an up. So they expanded here and added that section for the store. So they have undergone an expansion in that, and I did include the decision in your packet.
It is touch sensitive, so just be careful.
I saw somebody touch it, I'm like, I'm not going near that thing. You know how I am. So basically, that's the existing footprint. That's a protected use. It's a mixed use. Currently, there's a first floor of retail. It's, as I said, footprint 1750. It's about 1750, with storage. And then upstairs, there's a single-bedroom apartment on the second floor. It's a half floor, really, on the second level. The proposal, again, is to increase, and I can do this, right, Katrina? I can make it go to the second page?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you. So, the proposal is to actually add a 517 square foot addition, the purpose of which will be to have a back staircase that'll go up. It'll be a little bit more user-friendly as far as the business aspects. So on the second floor, there'll be a large storage area, as well as an office, a little kitchenette, and a bathroom for the people who work there. It's basically a family-run business. Essentially, Love goes there and he works out of the office, or tries to. His brother, Kush, also goes there, works out of the store. And to have a nice, large office with a space to work would be exceptionally important to them as the business they hope grows and is able to remain in Middleton. So this is what you see. There are a couple of improvements that are going to be made. So I'm just going to point out the existing conditions so that I can show you the improvements. So right now, if anybody's ever, a lot of us do go there, and there are 4 parking spaces on the side of the building. It's not, this is the new one. I got to go back. Oh, guess what, Katrina?
Broke it.
Press
I
the
broke it.
bottom, can you see the Google Drive button?
That's, I didn't even know that's what it was. So I thought I could do, I have to do it with one finger, right? Okay. So currently, the way you get into the property is you pull in and you back out of Gregory Street. So all parking reverses into Gregory Street. And that's what you have here. So that's the current configuration. And then, you know, the front of the property, it has a big Salvation Army box, it has an ice machine, all of that's going. All of like the old Middleton look of this particular property is going, and they're going to renovate the facade completely and update it. So, now what they're going to be proposing to do, and I will have Jared come up and walk you through some of the movements in the parking lot, because this is something that Mr. Fitzpatrick asked us to do during that design review committee meeting. So what we show, we actually reconfigured how we set up the 4 spaces in back, and now we have a scenario where they don't have to back up into the street, but actually have sufficient area to back up and drive out, face forward in Gregory Street, which is a tremendous increase in safety with regard to people accessing the property. If you go there a lot, though, you realize that 60% of the customers park across the street on those parking spaces in front of Dunkin' Donuts on the side. So that's being reconfigured, the front's being reconfigured, the porch is being removed and replaced. I want to just show you the, I'm going to show you the changes. Oh, that's right, Katrina, it's like on a totally different, let me see if I can do it like this. No.
Oh, what are you looking for?
I wanted to go to a different plan. I thought I would.
Okay, so we go up here.
I can, yeah.
And you want the,
Yeah, proposed floor plan. Here we go, thank you very much. So I just wanted to show you the proposed floor plan and the existing. So here's how the project is proposed to look like. So this entire corner right here is the new addition. So then as we go upstairs, here's the greater utility space. You know, we have a big storage area, and granted, it's a very large area. I mean, it's as comparison to everything else, but it's not a huge area because it's such a small site. So it's probably, this area is probably about 600, 700 square feet. You have a little kitchen, you have the owner's office. But the result of being able to expand and improve their business is to be able to get this view. So we're going to change the whole viewscape of the front. Instead of it having looked like a 1.5-story building that's kind of old and tired, it now will look new, and all the facade will be new, and the structure will have a more stylized look. And I was going to go back again, and here's just more access. I was going to go to those plans. I was trying to, that's what I was hoping was at the end.
How about some questions before you even get any further?
Sure.
All right.
Please.
Where's the dumpster located?
Sure. Guess what? I need the civil plans.
okay.
There isn't a dumpster under the plan.
There is, it's just like they show, they're really
totes.
small, they're not like the traditional dumpsters.
There's totes shown on the
Yeah.
side of the building, so you're
That's-
taking a,
Yeah.
I went by, that's actually one of my notes, I went by this morning, there's what appears to be like a 6-yard dumpster out there now,
There is now.
and it gets replaced with 2 totes, so I question the adequacy of that.
Well, I have a few more, even before we get into anything else.
Please.
I have some other concerns. So I'm looking at a street view map right now. I'm on Google Maps, and I'm on Street View.
Oh, I know what you're looking at.
And you have deliveries, the Budweiser truck comes and delivers there?
Yes, so this is.
Yeah, where is it gonna be? That's the one I got. Where's the one, where
Everybody
are
gets that.
you gonna be
It's a
delivering?
It's a great picture because it happens once a week on Tuesday mornings. And we remove this loading dock. So before, they would pull out, reverse into the property and stick out into Gregory Street. And then they would unload. That loading dock has been removed.
So where they loading now?
What they do now is they pull out parallel right here. They park right here, and it's no longer an 18-wheeler.
There's no parking spaces there.
No, exactly, but there's a way, no parking, but they're not on the street, and they park parallel to right here.
In a no parking area?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
You said the loading dock's been removed?
Yeah.
So this picture's from 2021
Sorry, which picture are you looking at?
of the But
So the
why is it-
loading dock exists right now, but in our new plan, it's gone.
I was gonna say, because I didn't issue any permits for the load dock
No,
to
no,
be
no,
removed.
of course, it's still there.
Yeah.
One other point before we get too deep into this, and I think it was jumped over. There was a previous special permit on this property, but I think what was left out was the fact that there was an attempt made to add to the second floor back then that was not allowed by this board at that point.
I just, and again, I'm one vote, and I'll give you my 2 cents even before we get into anything else. The site is already, in my view, inadequate in terms of accommodating parking. It's right at a busy intersection at East Street, Gregory Street, and Maple Street, which is a busy signalized intersection. The driveway is is the edge of the driveway. I mean, you're supposed to be 20 feet from an intersection for parking or anything else. I just have some problems with the site as it is, much less exacerbating this by adding to the site. And then on top of it, we're eliminating parking, is that right?
No, none.
But we don't have enough parking.
No, we have enough.
Right. There's 4 spaces on the other side of the street. I question whether someone's gonna get out and run across the street. That's, you never know, right? And there's spaces in the front, right?
Yes.
Now we're talking about, I don't care if it's 1 day a week or 2 hours, a tractor trailer parked on the side of the street, unloading in a no parking area is dangerous, right? So I don't know if I can support this. I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I have some concerns with this.
So if I may, and I understand, this is a lot to take in. I mean, if it were, a different community, and it isn't that dense for the site, but I get it, because it's our regulations. However, we aren't increasing really the area of the actual store. When you look at the plans, I think we go up by maybe, if even 200 feet in the interior of the retail. The intent is truly to make the space more user-friendly. The reason it was denied, I think, I don't know, Scott, Mr. Fitzpatrick, I couldn't find all of the details about the second floor addition. I couldn't find if they were trying to do an additional unit. I couldn't find anything other than they said you can't extend the second floor. If they were trying to do more, I have no idea. But I do know it was rejected. We originally, as you know, in your package, had come in seeking to actually add a residential unit, which Mr. Fitzpatrick vehemently opposed because he felt that it was going to be an overburden for the property. After much consideration, the carriers were like, look, you know what? And, by the way, there was an issue relative to the septic plan and design that had not been acknowledged until after Ms. Mello, the Board of Health agent, had brought it up, just put everything on the table. So that second unit has been removed. The second unit doesn't exist. The first unit is a dedicated single one-bedroom that is actually rented to a lot of town people. Right now, it's rented to somebody who works down the street. So it's always rented to a single person, and we would be more than willing to limit that to a single person.
Where does that person park?
They don't have. I don't think they even have a car.
I don't care whether they have a car. Where does that residential unit park?
Oh, if the residential unit were to park, they would park in the back, one space. And that's what they would do. So when you look at the actual parking requirements, the retail use, it only requires 6 spaces. We simply just provide more. So that's why I was saying, when you really look at it, you only have a requirement for 9 spaces, and that's even saying, give me 1 more space for the retail space, because it only needs 6 spaces based on the area of the retail, excluding the storage. So I understand the point. I definitely do. But this particular proposal, in fact, really does do a number of things that this community should be interested in, and that's it's redeveloping an existing building that is very tired. It provides the economics to allow that to happen. It actually improves the safety of the back parking lot. That back parking lot you back in and out of. And you're right. The cars, that one picture of the Google Earth image, commemorating for all times a horrible, truck backing in. But I have to tell you, as an experienced landlord, in 2000, 2001, there were no truck drivers available. So you got deliveries by tractor-trailer trucks. This is true.
Counselor, I can appreciate all of your opinion and all of this and all of that, right? Personally, I'm interested in the facts of the property and the site, and great, the building looks tired. I'm interested in public safety. Okay,
so then
so-
you can hear from, you'll hear from the engineer to tell you.
Well,
public safety
and we
is-
got today, it said a traffic assessment, it talked about curbing and sidewalks and things like that. It didn't talk about, that's fine. I saw that today, I read it, I read the report. Let me go to the member, actually, I'd like to go to the commissioner first.
So, I have a list of concerns here. One of them, the second level. As Attorney Mann pointed out, they eliminated the unit, but they didn't eliminate the square footage. They're proposing an office that's the same square footage as the unit that was proposed. They're proposing a kitchen, or what they're calling a kitchenette. They're proposing a full bathroom. I have an issue with that. I have an issue with the expansion of the second floor. I have questions on at least two of the spots in the rear parking lot, more your wheelhouse, but the spot 4 and 5, I question whether or not they're actually functionable, and you can get in and out without having to back out over the sidewalk.
And into the crosswalk.
If you have to back out, the addition of the building creates a blind spot going over the sidewalk. The second floor, they're showing some curbing work in the public way. I think that needs Board of Selectmen approval. They're showing snow storage in the public way. That's an issue, not only for me, for other departments. I have questions on the loading. The question on the dumpster, you're eliminating what appears to be a 6-yard dumpster and go into 2 totes that are shown on the drawing. Is that adequate?
Those are like dumpsters with wheels. Is that
The
what they
totes,
are?
they're like, like 96 gallon, or similar to what you'd get at like a recycling. They wheel them out.
Oh, like.
The lid flips up, they
They're
wheel them out.
portable.
Because you can't put a dumpster up against the
Yeah.
building. The fire code prevents it. The
Right.
totes are small enough. They're allowed to go there. The site plan that they've submitted shows 2 of them.
Yeah.
So, that's one of my questions. You're replacing a 6-yard dumpster with 2 totes. Is that adequate? Are we gonna have trash piling out there? They're located on the side of the building between 229 and 227. In that narrow section there, is that creating a nuisance for the adjoining property? I have the same loading questions that the chairman brought up. There's no provisions for loading. There's a history of, in addition to the truck that's blocking the travel lane for the loading, if you notice, 2 cars next to it are parked on the sidewalk. I would agree with the chairman that, in my opinion, this site is already maxed out, and any addition to it is a detriment. And I will throw out that we have a history of bylaw violations there with the signs. My orders to correct date back to 2017, and they were removed just prior to filing for the permit. So if they won't follow the bylaw and they won't follow the orders to correct on the signs, what says they're gonna follow any conditions imposed by this board?
Thank you, Commissioner. Members, Ann?
Yeah, although your design is lovely, and I live near there, and it's an exciting idea, but I have to agree that the site just is, I drive by it every day, I drive by the trucks and the people backing out, and that intersection, although it's not your problem, it is an insane intersection. Just the other night, we were at a red light, and a guy just went right through it's an insane intersection, and to expect your customers now to all park in the front, and I know there's parking spaces out front, but I live there and frequent the store sometimes, and I would never park out front because I'm not going to back out onto Maple Street, so I try to go and I park on the sidewalk, and yeah, unfortunately, I think I mean, the design is beautiful, but I'm not quite sure how it works. And I, too, have the fear that second story, on the second floor, that looks like an apartment. And I saw the earlier renditions, and, I mean, yeah, kinda.
If I may.
It's a little scary.
Just there's a couple of things that I'd love to comment on, and I took notes. And I'm going to get to the second floor space. The issue is the parking and backing out into the street, and that truck did it once a week, and you know, it was told by the board that even once a week's a problem. Right now, all our customers, every day, 90% park in the back, are currently pulling in and backing out into the street. That happens every day. 90% of our customers park here and this on the street because they don't want to pull out. Definitely out here, there's a red light right there. So when they're pulling in, and we can look up the, like, how many times the cops have showed up, at least 3 to 4 times because of fender benders, because it's blind, right? Like, you're not looking if someone's flying down this corner. So the number one biggest thing of this project is the safety of the back of our parking spot, is now they can pull in, and we're going to give it to our engineer and showing the sweep analysis on making sure that all 5 spots, they can pull in, back out, and then pull straight into the street. That's key. That's the biggest safety. The second is the sidewalk. There is no sidewalk, and the issue of parking cars here, that has no, ever since we were told that that hasn't happened. We don't want the cars there because having the green and the sidewalk, it feels like a corner community store. So that's those are the 2 biggest safety proponents, connecting to the rail trail, adding the sidewalk, and having our customers now not have to back into Gregory Street. That's number 1. The second floor space, I understood, okay, if we don't want an apartment, the loan, if we want to get a loan for this big of a project, we went to the bank, and the bank's like, if you don't have an apartment, it's going to be tough. And thinking of the economics, we're like, how do we make this work? This storage space that he outlined now, as a business owner, every week, we only can order 200 to 225 cases of beer. The big, deep deal that they call, that will drop us $1.50 per case, requires 300 cases of beer. That storage will now allow us to drop prices and have an economic benefit that is simply, like, incomprehensible. Just that 700 square feet we've mapped on how much beer and wine that can go straight up the stairs safely, straight into the storage room, have better air circulation than being put in a basement. So that was our second economic benefit. If the board feels that it could be looking like an apartment, we can set up yearly inspections, monthly inspections, whatever we may do to ensure that it's going to be used as that, because that's what makes the most economic sense, which is why we left that space. If we want to remove the kitchenette, sure, we remove the stove. If we remove the shower as well. Like, there's no intention to use that as an apartment. It's simply for storage and having an office space. Then it's the beautifying the building is the biggest thing. We've owned that building for 23 years. We're the longest tenured owners of that building. And we feel it's not, we don't want to get rid of old Middleton at all. We want to make sure we beautify it and make sure it accommodates to Magical Beginnings right next door, the other daycare across the street. And those buildings are getting well done. And this will allow us, this 500 square feet, will allow us to have the storage and the additional cooler space that will make us keep up with the times. Simply, I understand that if you look at it as a whole, it's like, oh, are they adding stuff? But making it safer, and this square footage only adds 200 square foot like of usable space because we're going to put in a walk-in cooler. Well, it'll be right now the coolers go just straight down. It'll be an L. So it's not all going to be retail space. It's going to be now that our customers that have to walk into the walk-in to get their 18-pack of Twisted, it will just be displayed for them like a normal store should have. That's what hurts our business right now, is our cooler space is so limited, we can only put 6 to 12 packs. The 18 packs are in the back, the 30 packs are in the back. This will allow us to now display that here and order a deal that will make the most economic sense. People are like, why is your bottle of wine $2 more? It's because I can't order 10 cases. Cappy's can. Total Wine can. That storage upstairs is more valuable than the apartment. It will allow us to order those deals, now 250 plus beer cases and over 50 wine cases that will allow us to drop the prices and compete. 6 liquor stores now, like, we know the deal. Beautifying the land, making sure the parking's safer to back out for our customers, and keeping up with the times and making the most economic sense. That's all we're asking for, and we appreciate your time.
Craig, comments?
I have issues with the parking.
I'm sorry?
I have issues with the parking.
As do I.
I mean, the building looks nice. It's like, it'd be great in a nice 20,000 square foot lot with parking all around it and a nice flow, but can't even support the truck on site that you need to get access to this larger demand that you're gonna have. So I guess I'm willing to give them time to come up with something better in terms of like a better layout or demonstrate the parking is gonna work somehow, but that's a hard one to overcome right now. With that, I mean, and maybe we need to walk it and you show me exactly where people are gonna park and how it's gonna work, and you stake it out like we do for other ones. I mean, I know in other communities, a 6,000 square foot lot, you can squeeze in, 3 different stores if you want and have a wonderful time, and that's fine, but that's a very transitory spot there where to have 6 parking spaces on a higher volume, because you're gonna have better deals and more traffic coming through there with less. I mean, you have 6 spaces?
9.
9? So at least one's taken up by the tenant, and 2 are taken up by the owners.
And one's handicapped.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
So
before you even get a customer, you're losing almost half your spots.
we do. So everything everybody said is, everybody has certain valid points, and Mr. Carrier does as well. I think, when you just said, I think it'd be important to go and look at it, sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. You see this picture from Google, which happened once in 2021, and doesn't happen anymore. And that was 3 years ago. So I think it's important maybe for the board members to, let's have a visit to the site, because you need to see what the site does currently. Currently, the condition is not safe. Currently, that parking lot is not safe. The parking lot that we're proposing is safe. And I'm not telling you that you have to believe all of that just based on the plan. Jarrett will stand up and we'll walk through this.
I have a question for Jared. Jared, what's a standard parking space, general?
9 by 18.
9 by 18. What's the width of the spaces in the back?
8.1 feet.
8.1 feet. Don't tell me it's safe. Because an 8.1 foot space, parking space, is not safe. That those doors, you're going to be barely able to get the doors
I
open.
mean, that's like a compact space. I don't debate that, Mr.
Okay.
Benevento.
So let's kind of just
Again,
let's say what
but
this
what
is.
you're supposed-
I agree with my colleague over here that come back with something that maybe we can look at. I can tell you right now where I am with this. And again, I'm one vote, but like 8.1 foot spaces. I mean, unless you're in a Mini Cooper, you're not gonna be able to get the doors open.
It's not easy. But, I mean, we again, it's a better situation that exists to date. So the standard, right, is can I improve the situation? Can I improve the property? And this change in the parking lot is actually that. I mean, Jarrett, do you want to speak to this? I mean, I think it'd be nice if we can go to the swept path analysis, then he can go through it with you, because there are other parking spaces available, and
Do you want me to bring up the swept path analysis? Where? Oh, this is. Oh, revised. Swept path.
Just curious, while you're looking for that, so those totes, which are on the west side of the building, how do those get emptied? Is someone dragging them out across the porch? Where are they going?
So exactly, that one right now, there's just one tote out there for a tenant. We spoke with Miller does our trash removal, and we said if we remove the big trash can 9 yards and have a compact space up again, like in that area, what do we have to do? And he's like, you're gonna need to remove that 3 times a week. Right now, you do it bi-weekly, the big one, the contract's gonna change. So we're like, we ran through the economics, we signed, we said if this goes into effect, we're willing to do 3 times a week of trash removal to make sure that will suffice. Right now, he does it twice a week and it fills up, it's every other Friday, and it fills up like 75% is like what it ran through. So we did 3 times a week to make sure that it's away from the eyesight, it's away from the street, it's away from Captain's Pizza, but it still accommodates the space.
So, again, I'm just curious how you get them, you're just gonna drag them across the porch? Where are they going?
How do they get in and out of the property?
So the trash truck,
Is that these 2 little squares right here?
Yeah,
It says
exactly.
Proposed solid waste storage area.
that's right.
Yeah,
So the truck pulls into the property and removes the,
can you go to, I'm
So
sorry.
where are they?
It's on the site
side
plan. Can
between
you go to,
27 on the site.
C3
Oh.
on the site plan?
I don't know why this is so difficult to maneuver around. It's in,
I actually couldn't open the site plan in Google. It was taking forever to open.
Oh, there we go.
yeah.
There you go. C3?
Yeah, or we have it there too.
All right, one more,
Nope, keep going again.
one more.
It's
There
better
you
than
go.
this one.
See the
there.
2 little squares in the
Right.
bottom there?
So
Right there. So how do they come and pick those up?
Right now, the trash is right here, and the truck pulls in and dumps it out. He'd be doing the same exact thing, would be reversing it here, and there's a pathway to remove the tote, to like pull out the tote.
So I see a landing and I see steps and
Yes.
steps and landing above.
So that's to go upstairs. Like,
Okay.
This is the steps and landing above. Here's the landscape and pathway that you can walk across.
So he's gonna drag those barrels through the landscape area?
So that's what he's agreed. He's like, if we move it from here, because we had to find the solution, and it's just a drag to here. That's all it is. And it's a
And what's in the landscape area? Pansies and stuff? We're gonna crush those and drag that, I mean,
No.
what's in the landscape area?
just grass
And how many times a week is he coming?
3 times a week.
So he's gonna come 3 times a week and drag those barrels through the grass area. How long's the grass gonna last?
It should be all right.
I'm trying to be like rational here.
I know, but we can't put the trash here, the trash can't go here, the trash can't go here. We had to put it here, and we had to make the size make sense, which is why we increased the frequency of him coming. So
Okay.
that's,
Again, back to my colleague, Mr. Hartwell,
course.
right? Dragging barrels across a grass area 3 times a week is not gonna be a landscape area. It's gonna be a grass area with tracks going through it, right?
yeah.
Should that be a hard surface? I don't know.
This is a hard surface, we can remove it from there, and we can look into this more as well. this
Yeah, I
trash.
think you need to.
No, of course, the trash issue specifically, if you can go to the sweep analysis, that'd be great.
let's see if I can.
Okay. Members have anything else at this
Can
time?
you, do you have a color rendering of the building somewhere, a picture of
Yes,
it?
we did.
It's the,
Well, wait, do you want the swept
Yeah,
path
can
analysis?
we'll talk about
or-
this, because that's important too, and then we'll
Do
do
that,
that as
yeah,
well.
sure.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, so just for the record, my name is Jared Bastos. I'm with the Moore and Cameron Group. We're the civil engineers and surveyors on the project. We went ahead and modeled this swept path analysis. Light is not working.
Oh, it gets absorbed by that. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
we know it,
So just
talk through it.
So we modeled the pulling into the handicap space. This is the one that's probably going to be the most difficult to maneuver in and out of, just because it's on the end. This space will, is easier to pull into, just because you've got the pavement there. So you'll see it's just kind of the red line, that's the path of the tires. And then kind of this orange line here, that's the path of the body of the car. So this just kind of shows the car pulling into that handicap space. And this shows kind of the backing out maneuver for the vehicle.
How'd it work with the 8-foot space?
It would be the same process. So you're just gonna shift this up. This one's because this one's on the end. It's actually going to be the hardest to maneuver out of because you've got this corner here. You don't really.
Yeah, that space, you got 16 feet. You got the gore area, and you got the 11-foot space for the handicap space.
Correct.
So that's twice as big as those other 4 spaces, right?
It is twice as big, but you have kind of more space on the side between the space. It's only pulling in to the one area. If you basically bring this up, it would be kind of
Yeah.
the same analysis.
I'm not buying it. Sorry.
Can I just ask a question? So they're 18 feet long, right? And then this is a fence behind it, if I remember correctly.
We're not not currently.
Yeah, well, they're like where the stop sign is. You know, this part of the property,
This part of the
right?
property, there's no, it's just grass right now. We'd be putting in a fence
You would be
if we want.
okay. What's from the end of the lines, the parking space lines, to the property line? What's the distance there?
22 and a half feet.
20 feet.
Right here, 22 and a half feet. 20 feet between the end of the stall and the fence, and then another 2.5 feet. 20 and 2.5.
And why we're doing this is to prevent them from backing up. So, right, I understand that this doesn't look like the best option, but it's really bettering what's the current use. And I appreciate that recommendation of walking the site, because I think it'd be beneficial just to see. Number one, you will not see, we had a traffic analysis on St. Patrick's Day. None of our parking spots were ever all full. We don't run that type of business.
Let me ask you something else, okay? Just because I'm looking at the site plan. So let's say you have a car parked in any one of the first 4 spaces, but let's say it's the first space, all right? You have 20 feet from the end of the parking stall to the fence. No, excuse me, to the edge of the pavement, right? 20 feet, 20-foot drive aisle, and I'm looking at the site plan. If someone is parked in that first space, and then they're pulling into the site, they have 2 feet of a drive aisle. Go to the site plan for a minute, Katrina. Can we go back to the site plan?
Sure.
So it doesn't accommodate two-way traffic. The person pulling into the property would be hitting that car that's in the first space.
I know what you mean. So if you back up, it's a one maneuver property is what you're saying.
It's what?
One maneuver, right? So you can either come in.
No, it's not one maneuver. What happens is, let's say someone is at the stop line waiting to leave.
Right.
And someone wants to pull in.
Right.
They can't because the car in the first stall is blocking up to, with only leaving 2 feet
Right, that's what I
to
meant,
get
one
in.
maneuver. You have one car at a time.
So they can't even pull into the site.
They'd have to wait until the person exits. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
This doesn't work. I'm sorry. It doesn't work for me.
Can I interject? Mr. Chair,
Yes, of course.
I mean, how is it right now?
Worse.
Oh, horrible.
Worse.
So I guess if this were the first plan and we had a flat lot and they were coming and saying, can we do this? I think we'd tell them to go and get their head checked someplace before they come back.
Well, Craig, right now they pull in off of, what's that, Gregory Street, and then they back out.
Right.
But there's no passing of traffic. You're creating different problems, which.
I guess
worse.
that's to my point is I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a problem on this site. Like, there's got to be a better solution. And I think I would like to give them time to come up with a solution and not and take that into consideration and how we can. We want to give you an opportunity to do this once and be done, because there's not going to be another bite at the apple to fix this. I mean,
And I appreciate that. This initially, like, the whole thought process started 2 years ago. And what we really wanted to do is, the whole thing was gonna be a throughway. We have an easement right here. It makes sense, these properties have issues right now and they haven't fixed them. So for 2 years, we first tried to do that. And it started with, okay, let's get the list of what the issues are. It's a 20-year problem. We got that list. And then it's like, all right, they're not fixing it. Well, what's the next step? And we hired the contractor to pull permits on their sites. And then we handed it to them and said, now what's the excuse now? And it still wasn't done. Right? Like, if it's not done, it's not done. Which is why we came to this plan. We cut this throughway off. We have an easement of this space too. But we can't use that property because they currently have issues. Once they fix those, maybe that's an opportunity. But right now, just to expand the retail space, this is the parking layout that betters the current situation. I understand it's not the best. And we should do the site.
I have to stop you for a second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. it doesn't make it better. There's conflicts here. There are conflicts. The road's not wide enough. You're gonna have people trying to pull in, they can't pull in because the drive aisle is blocked by a car. So this doesn't, in my view, and this is what, when I'm not here, this is kind of what I do during the day. Of course. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. And you can tell me that it works, and your engineer can tell me that it works, and the
I'm not saying
counselor
that
can
it
tell me
works,
that it
Chairman.
works. It don't work, in my view, right? So I think you should take the advice of my colleague, Mr. Hartwell, go back to the drawing board, and hopefully you can come up with something else.
Can we also schedule a site visit?
You could schedule a site visit if you'd like.
I'd appreciate
I think
just-
we've all been there, but, yeah.
No, and just taking this plan and what the current situation is, and just walking through it and just speaking to you, and that will better our chance to, take another bite at the apple and make a new plan. It's getting your thoughts live on the site, explaining this to you, seeing the situation, and then hearing your thoughts to better the situation. I'd really appreciate that.
But the thing is about a site visit is we can't really give you our thoughts on site,
Okay, I mean, that's,
unless it's publicly posted.
And the only reason for the site visit is to just be able to see. I mean, if you've all seen it, then we don't necessarily have to, if you've all been there during times. But why we really wanted you to is we wanted you to see the situation. We wanted you to see the inside, because quite frankly, now with limiting the bedroom upstairs, because originally that thing had been two-bedroom for, I can't even tell you how long. So that's why we're looking for the waiver to go from 2 parking spaces to 1. So once we do that, our overall parking requirement, believe it or not, dropped to 8. I understand people say, well, you don't have enough parking. People don't go there in mass. It's only, it's less than 1,200 square feet. You don't get a lot of people at one time. So my point is, the actual parking requirement is only 8. We have 9. There are opportunities.
Again, Counselor, that's an opinion, that maybe we won't have a whole pile of people there. But if he's selling beer as cheap as he's gonna sell it for, who knows? There might be a ton of people there, right? I would think that he would want a lot of people there.
Does, but
it's really not, we don't want to change the business line or anything like that, and right now, and that's why I think the visit would be beneficial, because you'd see, out of the 9 spots, the traffic report on the busiest days, on the weekend, doesn't matter what time you come, there's not more than 3 filled up. And people that live we have neighbors that live right next to, on Gregory, that walk to our property and see that it's not filled up all the time. And we've had this plan out for our customers, the neighbors, the residents of Middleton, and they're like, wow, this is an opportunity to add the sidewalk, to connect the rail trail, to clean up the front, to add the back, clean up the back. I really would appreciate, I think if you guys walk the site and walk the inside and see how it would open up and betterment the business, because the competition is tough, Chairman. That's all, we're just trying to keep up with the times.
And I just would like to ask, because we do meet the letter of the parking requirement, but if we were to get a waiver to allow us to just have 1 parking space for that residential, then our parking requirement also goes down, and then we would have more space to deal with. So if it wouldn't be...
Did I hear earlier, though, that we're gonna get rid of the residential and it's just gonna be storage?
There's one, the
2 units
extra
there now.
residential,
They're
there's
getting
a
rid of one of the units. They were gonna propose, there's a one unit with 2 bedrooms now. They were gonna split that into 2 one-bedroom units. So now they're saying, no, they're gonna do one-bedroom unit. So reduce the number of bedrooms and turn the other space into the store, right?
So I think we can keep banging this around all night. I think you need to come back. If you want to schedule a site visit, we can do that.
Can I ask, I just still have something on the floor.
Has an extra room, study or whatever it's labeled on the plan.
Office.
Yes, yeah, and we know how those go.
I appreciate, thank you. I just would like the board to give me a little feedback relative to what they feel about, and this is your point, the waiver to allow 1 parking space for that 1-bedroom unit. And we are willing to subject to a condition in the lease or whatever you want, but that is something that really I would like to explore with the board.
For context, it's currently being used by a person that works at the gas station, so he walks over. We're willing to put in the lease that it can only be 1 person. We don't rent to couples, and we're willing to keep it to 1 car, and that would be excluded. A requirement in the lease, any other requirement, because that's what it's currently used as, that's the plan. There's no families, there's no couples, it's 1 employee that works at a gas station across the street, or it's a student from Merrimack was our previous tenant. That's what we've had.
Well, I mean, is that request is part of this entire plan, isn't it?
It is, but it would allow us to make modifications then to the plan pursuant to what you're talking about. Making, if there's no possibility of waiver, there's no possibility of reducing spaces, is what I'm trying to point out. None, because I have to meet the requirement.
Are we already in violation?
No.
Well, is there a site plan that actually shows all the spots laid
Yeah,
out?
because remember, we're increasing the, if I may, we're increasing the retail space by 200, so we added a space. So we meet it. 9 is what we require. Even with the 2 parking space per residence.
I'd have to verify it. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah,
But the question is, are they usable, we're throwing around, there's enough parking. If the spots aren't usable,
That's
are
the
we,
thing.
So we need to reduce.
I think you're better off if if you have less parking, but they're actually usable.
spots, yeah.
As opposed to the same amount of spots, because I think you said the spots are 8 feet wide.
8.1 is what.
How many
just
people
heard.
in Middleton drive compact cars? I mean, that's,
And again.
A standard compact size is 7.5. So it's actually larger than a standard compact.
So you get 6 inches to get out of your door.
Sorry,
could.
that was pretty good. I could.
I could.
I wasn't gonna say it.
But again, and my whole point with bringing that up again was to just say, I'd love some feedback from the board, because there is some flexibility there, but, because in its current configuration, it's an existing property, that's what it's been permitted for, that's what it does. If we're trying to improve a condition and I can get some leverage with regard to that one condition, I know you're not going to vote on it, but if I can get some feedback, that would be very, very helpful.
Why don't you just come back with that option and show that option?
Because we don't want to redo a whole set of plans if the board's like, no, we're not giving you the waiver. It
Spending
makes
that kind
no
of money if the
sense.
board's gonna say go away.
It's expensive.
And we want to do what's in the best interest of the community and what the board wants. It's just we need a little bit of feedback to provide that flexibility.
I would rather have one less parking space and have a lot that works.
Absolutely.
I mean, we gotta fix the site.
Yeah.
So.
We want that to
Right,
happen.
so-
And the
So
carriers are
let's fix the problem and not just
It's a quid pro
get mad
quo.
about it.
If you
Like,
want to.
right.
If you want to keep parking, you're going to have this plan, because you can't make this site bigger, all right? It is what it is. If we can get a reduction in 1 parking space, now you could bring these up to a standard size. You're not going to get the backup any different. It is what it is. But at least you can get wider stalls, but you have to give up something for that.
That doesn't work. I'm telling you right now. I've been in this business 44 years. I have never seen an 8-foot spot, 8'1", nor have I ever seen parking spaces that are in the middle of the drive aisle, so when you pull in, if anything, that curb to the left of the crosswalk, yeah, that should be moved out.
And that's
So that it's in line with the space, so someone doesn't come swinging around the corner
Yeah,
and
that
slam
first
into
space,
their
that
first
first
car.
space is a dangerous space.
Chairman, that's great feedback. We'll 100% back to the waiver. If we get that's the feedback. If anything else you guys can comment on that to make this better, we would love that. Because if this is a step we're going, is going back to the drawing board, please let us know what you think. Pushing that back, reducing the blind spot, that makes sense. Increasing the width, that makes sense. Whatever you guys need, we're willing to do it.
I think that's what Craig was
Yeah, I think you're saying it makes sense to us, yeah.
One other point on life safety, completely different from the parking. Allowing this project to go through will increase the life safety of this building. Building's currently not sprinklered. We go ahead and do this level of renovation, we're gonna bump it up to putting a full sprinkler system by NFPA standards. So it is a betterment to the community, just by the fact that we're doing the project at this scale. But in order to get that, we have to do the project at this scale.
Before we go any further, we had comments?
We do.
Why don't we go through the comments?
Okay. Let's see. Dated January 11th, 2024, from the Planning Board. As at the January 10th, 2024 meeting of the Planning Board, the members reviewed the proposed site plan application for the property at 229 Maple Street. The board voted unanimously, 5-0, to offer a positive recommendation to the zoning board.
Who was that from?
Planning Board. From the ICDRC, Industrial Design Review Committee, this is January 23rd, met with Attorney Jill Mann to discuss the proposal for the property at 229 Maple Street that will be presented at the ZBA meeting. Please be advised of the following recommendations. Replace internally illuminated roof signs with externally illuminated signs without advertising. Replace the rear grass strip with a continuation of the landscape planting that adorn Gregory Street side of the building, and that's from Linda Richards. Who's Manny Agul to this?
From Middleton Electric.
Middleton Electric Light.
Oh, okay. They don't have any comment, actually. From Tracy Mello, is that Concom?
Board of Health.
Board of Health. Dated January 18th, currently the septic system for a one-bedroom in a 1,900 square foot commercial space for a total of 350 gallons per day. At the meeting with Jill Mann, the new plans do not have the new square footage of the commercial space and office. From the town administrator, I think he might have got cut off. He had concerns about parking, delivery, and snow storage. No issues from the police, from the Concom. 229 Maple Street. Under existing condition, the site has no stormwater management and all runoff flows into the road and onto the abutting properties. No stormwater improvements are proposed as part of the project. Due to the dense use of the site, the storm management report states there is no room on the site for stormwater improvements. The snow storage on the site, and referenced on the plan, is inadequate, needs to be expanded, or plan put in place to remove snow from the site during storm events. Got there. Can you bring up the picture of the rendering of the building?
Oh, can you bring the rendering of the colors?
Okay, so the front of it is, where's?
Here's the front. Ms. Cody? They're redoing that.
We're redoing the front porch.
You want to,
Yeah.
you're probably most poised to do it. You go ahead. I think, Ms. Cody, do you have a question?
Well,
Do you
go
want
ahead.
to go
Just-
through it?
Do you have anything to say about that?
Okay. Building currently is this mass right now. Got the residential unit up there. We're redoing the front porch. We're extending, we're basically filling where the existing handicap ramp is, running a new stair access via this new stair tower to break up the massing of it. We're essentially mirroring the structure over on the other side, but doing like a little connecting link. Balances out the facade. The facade will, we'll be using cement fiberboard siding, AZIC trim, so it'll be more maintenance. Get rid of the ugly vinyl siding on it, and just giving it a fresh look. As I mentioned before, because of the extent of work that we're doing, the building's going to have to be fully sprinklered to meet an NFPA 13 standard. So it will become a safer building. Everything that you say about the parking, I don't think anyone's in disagreement if this was.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about that, but, so this building was built in?
1860.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
1860s, okay, as used as a train station in town.
Yes.
So it's an historical building, and kind of lost in the translation over the years. What are we using for roofing?
Well, on this portion here, we're proposing a metal roof on the low slope roof, and then it'll be an asphalt composition shingle up on the main roof. An architectural shingle,
Okay. And fiberboard siding?
fiberboard siding, not
What are the
vinyl.
columns in the porch made of?
There'll be PVC AZIC, it's cellular PVC, it'll look like wood.
Yeah, don't want to see vinyl.
Don't want to see,
Anywhere.
you're preaching to the converted on that.
The signage, what are you, the,
All right, well, we
asking for some changes in the
At the
signage?
request of the client, we were going to reuse the existing signs, the House Market sign and the current Coca-Cola sign as features. There are those two existing signs on each side, on Gregory Street and Maple Street. The intent was, I don't know what kind of shape those signs are, they're even salvageable.
Well, the ICDRC asked for signs without advertising, and I kind of agree with that.
Right.
So I would like to see, go ahead.
Sorry, we got comments, I think it was 2 days ago, to remove the Coca-Cola
Right,
and Bud Light,
without
so that's
advertising.
gonna
So
be.
we'd
But
like
we're
to see
keeping them, we're just-
signs
No,
that
we're
are
keeping the
interpreted
signs, but they're not gonna be advertisement. That's,
where they're placed.
exactly.
But I'm saying I want to see signs that look and have the feel that are a little more historical. Want to see a train on it somewhere.
Love it.
Wanna
Yeah,
see the
we,
weather
obviously, we'll
vane
bring in the
being
sign,
trained.
sign is on her. This
Joe,
is,
Joe,
you
Joe,
know,
let her finish so we can have this.
Just say, again, that building has lost all character, but is the only train station left in town. Want to see something that indicates that it was and still is the train station that we do have left. Plus, it's at the end of the rail trail, so you have to pull that in. And there are a lot of pictures around of that building, what it used to look like. Just want to see some character that kind of shows you that that's what it was. So even if it's just a train on the sign,
Yeah,
and
so
the
what-
sign has an historical look to it, and not
course.
have a Coca-Cola sign on it. It has to be exteriorly lit, but go ahead.
What we originally had proposed, and we had to remove because we couldn't have an additional sign, this wall was going to be a mural of the town of Middleton. It would reflect the town hall, it would reflect our old train station, it would reflect our store, it would reflect Richardson's.
Why can't you do that?
Sorry?
Why can't you do that?
We were told that you'd need to pull a special permit and it's not allowed.
and
This,
it was technically another sign.
that's what they said. So that's why this looks blank right now, it's because we wanted, 90% of our public comes in from the back, not the front. And as you walked in, we want that, that's important to our customers, that's important to the town of Middleton. You'd see the train station right there, you'd see the town hall right there, you'd say a step.
Scott, could it be a mural just of the train station?
No, no, our bylaw, we looked at it on another business, was looking to do a mural.
Yeah.
It's a sign,
Photograph?
it's a sign.
If it pleases Ms. Cody, what we'll do is we're going to give to you, and it's only because we just got the comment, we're going to provide for you updated sign. It'll be externally illuminated, it'll still be projecting, but it will not have signs, and we will reflect the railroad quality. But also, if you'd like, I can show you the mural, I can show you a depiction
Well,
with
it doesn't matter, Scott's saying we can't do it. It
Well,
can't
yeah,
do it.
you need a special permit to do it.
Well, unless, would a special permit do it?
Well, do we only allow, I'd have to look at the bylaw, I don't know if we only allow one extra sign with the special permit, which you already have the two on the corner, right? You have the one in the front and the one on the Gregory Street side. Probably need a variance.
So even the lettering we see here wouldn't be allowed.
So if I may, so I apologize, but this is a question. So every sign you see on this plan is grandfathered, already there, already there, already there, already there. That's why it's simple replacement, so we weren't going for any additional, because I wasn't sure of what we were going to end up having to request. That's why. So those signs are actually already allowed.
Right, there's a sign on the front facade on Maple, there's a sign on the low roof on Gregory, and there are the two projecting signs.
So maybe a solution could be if we change this to the mural in the back. Could that work? Like anything that could, because that's a big thought of ours.
Well, you're asking for a lot of relief here, so I think if the board's willing to grant the relief, you're gonna have to give something up, so I think you're gonna have to give up some of the old signs, if you want more.
We don't.
Yeah, that's what you say, swap one for another.
So our initial take would be to change this and have the train reflected, have what you had just mentioned reflected, and we keep that because it is iconic and those two are grandfathered in. Then yeah, if that's what it takes, sure.
Well, you see where we're running for, so if you're on the same page, that's fine. I just want to see that
100%.
reflected, because again, it's lost a lot of its character, but people need to know.
I never knew that was the train station.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to be.
House Station Market.
The Historical Commission's going to be not selling, but offering plaques to historical buildings in town that have the dates on that, and I think you should put that on one of yours.
Yeah, that was right there, established in 1860.
Well, it's just a small sign, it'll go next to your door.
Beautiful.
So they'll be coming out soon, you'll see those. So that might be something to consider putting up too, because a lot of people don't know that that's the
Yeah.
original train station and the year that it was built.
We have a picture inside the store.
Yeah,
the
that's
first
nice,
thing
yeah,
you see.
that's lovely.
All these things sound great as soon as we get the parking issue resolved.
So, how many square feet is the office, including the kitchen and?
I'll give you those numbers right now.
Second floor.
Okay, the office, 200 square feet,
Okay.
okay? The bathroom, 87 square feet. The storage area, 400 square feet. The stair, 107 square feet. And the kitchenette, 36 square feet per hall space, so.
It sounds like if you shrink the second floor, you can meet the parking
It's the
requirement.
second, yeah, but I will say this. What we're adding in terms of retail space, because it's primarily cooler space, the stair, is we're adding a total of 137 square feet of new retail floor space.
But don't forget, the office gets calculated at
Right,
one
the off-
space,
right,
one
the off-
space per 200 square feet, which I haven't even verified on the new plan, because this just came through recently. Initially, we were looking at it as the 2 spots, so, I mean, if that office, which is extremely large, in the kitchen and the bathroom were reduced or go away, you might be able to become compliant with actually maneuverable parking spots.
And I still have a concern with your deliveries. I mean, to having a tractor-trailer parked on Gregory Street.
That was from COVID, that picture.
Let me finish. You're gonna have deliveries, right?
Tractor trailers.
Whatever it is, they're gonna be parking on Gregory Street, correct? The shoulder on Gregory Street, if you look at the white line, is maybe 7 feet, right? There's a double yellow center line in the center of that roadway. Double yellow center line is considered maximum restriction. You're not supposed to go over that. So someone technically coming down the street, if they can't get by that truck, you're forcing them into a violation by crossing over that double yellow center line. These are the things I'm thinking about, right? So I'm not comfortable approving a plan that's gonna cause those kinds of things. So that's why you need to think about this. You need to go back and think about this. We all know, I'll be one, I'm one that I'll admit, you're driving down the street and there's an Amazon truck, and you have to go around the truck, and you hope no one's coming the other way, and you're in the opposing lane. I would not feel comfortable approving a plan that is making somebody do that. I would feel irresponsible doing that. So I'm just saying that we need to think about this, however you're gonna think about it. Get land from someone else, the guy that lives upstairs, let him park at the gas station where he works. I don't know what the answer is. But we need to think about this, because I'm not gonna vote, again, I'm one vote. I'm not gonna vote to approve a plan that's gonna cause someone to be crossing over the center line of the roadway.
And we understand, but I do have to explain, once again, that happens currently. We are not exacerbating that. That's an existing condition. I get it, but I'm just saying, it's an
Does that
existing
make it right?
condition. No, but it doesn't. It means, but the point of
That's
this...
your opinion, Counselor.
No, it isn't. It's actually fact. So my only statement is, as we exist today, we have these violations. We need to try and make the space better, and you've given us a tremendous amount of feedback that will allow us to do that, I think. But I still would just like to hear any kind of feedback on that waiver to allow at least a reduction to only have one space dedicated to that residential apartment.
I think people are in agreement.
Yeah, I think-
It
yeah.
seems fine, yeah.
Well, I don't know if
I mean-
I don't know if I'd say it's fine, but I think there's some concerns with how that second floor is laid out.
Understood.
So to grant a reduction in the required number of spaces for that residential unit.
That
would-
residential unit, the pre-existing resident, that is the current layout. There isn't really much work going on within that unit as it stands right now.
I'm looking at.
We're not, yeah. That one residential unit.
Yeah.
That's the pre-existing residential unit, and
You
there's
don't
a
know what I'm
minor
talking
configuration
about.
of that.
You have no idea what I'm talking about. Just let me finish. I'm looking at your proposed second floor plan. I'm not looking at existing conditions or any of that, so just pump the brakes. You've got a bedroom, a living room, a study, kitchen with a full dining area, and you're telling me it's gonna be one guy only living in this space? No significant other, no visitors coming to this property that has a study, a living room, a eating kitchen, like, from an enforcement standpoint, I feel like we're creating a problem. So, I'm just putting it out there.
Sure. No, listen, I
And we can
understand.
address it next meeting.
I got you.
So it's your punch list is really, it's growing, but I don't think it's insurmountable. It just is gonna take some effort.
So on your comment, just so I'm clear on this, as I was trying to explain, that's the existing layout in the unit now with minor reconfiguration. Are you saying that you want to see that unit completely redesigned so it is more clearly a one-bedroom?
I'm just saying it's been brought up. Like,
I wanna understand the
it seems to me
parameters
you
you're trying to-
just changed the name on the existing plan. You changed the second bedroom to a different space, but it's really, I mean, are we kidding? Like, it's still a two-bedroom.
We understand, I.
So that's why I said, deal with it at the next meeting. Let's not get caught up in semantics, but it's an enforcement issue that I think we're creating down the line that we can address with the way that the property is. I mean, you're kidding me with the second space too. I mean, like, that's not going to be used as a living space, like, or couldn't be. I mean, we've had circular staircases going up closets, I think, for living spaces in this town. Like, we're laying it out there on a site plan now, in a legal apartment. I mean, it's basically right there. You got a kitchenette, you got a bathroom, and you got a living space. Like, it. So I think that's a real concern that needs to be.
Sounds like you're reluctant to waive the parking space for that large unit.
Well, it sounds like in its current what I heard is, if I'm correct,
Yes.
in its current configuration, you are reluctant.
Correct.
So, understood. I think we got great feedback. I think the board's tired. Would the board like to have a site walk?
Sure.
I think it would help a lot.
Before we do anything else.
Oh, please.
Is there anyone here from the public
Oh, jeez.
regarding this that would like to speak?
Come on down.
Come over here, name and address, please.
Thanks, everyone. Dennis O'Brien here, 9 Gregory Street. My wife Cheryl Diamond, 9 Gregory Street. Neighbors, we live literally 2 houses down from this. This is wonderful. Generally, I'd like to speak in favor of this. I appreciate all of your concerns because you're keeping us safe, and I heartily endorse the attempts to meet the requirements and make this happen, because I think this is terrific. I mean, to that whole corner, this is a terrific improvement. I think you all see that too. So, I don't know. You look at this picture over here on the right, you look at the car parked where it is. Across the street from that, of course, is the Dunkin' Donuts. It's actually public parking there, whatever, 2 or 3 spots or whatever it is there. There's in the front of the place, there's public parking there as well. There's 2 or 3 spaces on Maple Street. People walking across the street from Dunkin' Donuts, yes, that happens. Yes, it's dangerous. It happens. The customers will walk across there. It's just convenient. It's a convenience store. That's the nature of it. Your responsibility is to keep people safe and everything. God bless, we appreciate that too. And I think you do too. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all right. Site visit.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the calendar.
On a Sunday?
Pleasure.
We have hockey until. We have hockey until like.
On a
It
Sunday
depends
morning?
on the week. What?
Sunday morning?
If it's a Sunday morning, I can't be there until after hockey. Or before, but hockey's
You talk
usually
about
at
this
like 9.
Sunday?
Hockey's at 5 in the morning, isn't it?
I'm
Thankfully, not yet.
I work on the weekend.
You work on Sundays?
It depends on which Sunday. I have to look.
Okay.
I mean, is this something that requires a formal site walk? I mean, we're just looking at the existing conditions and
Yeah, why don't we just-
reconfirming.
we can just go on our own.
Flow. I think.
Yeah,
Make it a point
Was
to
that-
go see it.
So we'll just
yeah.
we'll leave it open that the board has permission to visit the site between now and the next meeting, and they'll make an effort to familiarize themselves with the existing conditions on the site.
Okay.
So does that mean we don't get told, like, we would love to walk it with you?
We're not going to tell you anything
We
anyway.
can't talk to you anyway, so,
Yeah.
Okay.
so it does you no benefit, and it
Please just go into the walk-in cooler, go into the store. I can even leave the upstairs open for you. Like, I want you to see the space completely, the whole 9 yards, that's all. Like,
So all you have to do
We'll
is.
come by and see you individually.
Right, I would love.
We'll
please.
leave word with the clerk downstairs, so when you go, just tell him who you are and he'll let you everywhere.
We live right down the road, we can fly there and make sure.
I don't think anyone's raised any issues with the internal configuration of the retail space.
Go upstairs.
We can, but all you're gonna do is tell me that it's an office and not a bedroom. So
The
what's the
only-
difference, right?
Right, the only reason to go inside is to see how ill-formed it is, but I
Right.
think everybody here has been inside.
I think the
So,
important part from a site walk standpoint is to walk the site and drive through, and so.
Whatever you
I
need.
think if we can do it on our own time, if they're available when we're there, that's cool too.
At least you didn't ask for a drive-through.
That's next time. Kidding.
For a neon
All right,
sign.
I'll accept the motion that we continue this to our next meeting on
Do you want to do it February 15th?
February 15th?
Or do you need more time?
So, yeah, if we want to review, make sure we,
All right, how about March 28th?
that will give us enough time for the.
Yeah, I would take as much time as you need.
March
No, no,
28th.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to continue to the March 28th meeting, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Good.
Okay.
Next one should be quick.
We can get through the rest of this in like
Real quick.
record time.
All right. Item 4, discussion regarding amending all the zoning Board of Appeals rules, regulations, and policies to change all gender-specific pronouns to gender-neutral pronouns in a manner consistent with the examples provided in the warrant for the annual town meeting 2021.
Do we have to vote on this?
Yes, we do.
All right,
So
I make a
moved.
motion.
So moved.
I do have additional discussion,
What?
because this is something Katrina and I had a discussion about early on. I prefer, given my gender, to be called chairman. Is that a problem now, if we vote on this?
No.
We can
No,
address
it's just,
you as
it's
that.
written. It's
written.
what's written.
No, it doesn't
Just
address
versus,
you.
Then I'm fine.
I can, we can call you.
I'm good.
So, Mr. Chair, I will move that the zoning board of appeals amend its rules and regulations and policies to change all gender-specific pronouns to gender-neutral pronouns in a manner consistent with the examples provided in the warrant for the annual town meeting in 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwell. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Second. Do I have any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? So moved. Okay. All right. Item 5, Town Planner Report. The budget discussion regarding ZBA annual budget. Do we have a budget?
We do. I have a budget every year. Since I began here.
How much is it? Does anybody know?
Well, it includes my salary and the salary of admin staff.
Oh,
It
okay.
equals, the planning equals about 120,000, and then the ZBA is more like 4,000, and master plan committee is 3,000.
Does that budget include when we, town council?
No,
That's separate?
yep, that's
Okay.
separate. So it really only includes salary and office stuff. Mileage, if the board had to go anywhere, they can get reimbursed. If you did training, we could pay for that. It pays for supplies. And I would just like to combine the master plan committee budget, the ZBA budget, and the planning board budget all into one budget. Because we're the ones that have to keep track of it every month when we.
Is that all administered out of the planning department?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you is there a planning department now?
I guess I am the
Like, are you
planning
the planning department now?
We're looking at her.
Yeah. Okay.
Scott, you want to weigh in on this? Nope. Okay.
Well, he
Perfect.
shouldn't because he's not in the department.
No, but just, it's nice to get he's a member of the public.
Like, it's shocking to me that Middleton doesn't have a planning department, even at this point.
Well,
But,
it is a planning department. It's just that it's a throwback to before there was a planner, and the chairpersons or chairmen actually signed the warrants.
Yeah.
And so they don't do that anymore. There's a planner now.
Where
And
does it
so
go
there's-
from here?
Pardon?
If we say, yeah, this is a good idea, and
I'm
we
just
agree.
asking for a letter of support. I don't even know if they're gonna do it. I just thought, for the budget, we have to go and ask these things if we want any changes. I thought it'd be better to have some support.
So you're just looking for support from
Yeah.
this board?
Just so that they know that the chairpersons of all these boards aren't gonna complain if the budgets are combined.
Even look.
Chair, after careful reflection and hearing
Love you.
the testimony of the town planner, I will make a motion that we vote to issue a letter of support in favor of combining the budgets of the planning board, zoning board of appeals, and master plan committee at the discretion of town administration, whether to do that or not, but to support that effort, in order to streamline the administration of our small town.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Carolyn. And is there any additional discussion on this? You want to comment? Nope.
I have my own budget, I'm good.
Okay, motion made and seconded, no additional discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Discussion on affordable housing trust involvement in the site plan review process. Can we table that till next time?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that this board offer the Affordable Housing Trust the opportunity to weigh in on any site plan review process and to vote in favor of that at this time.
Can I ask one quick question?
Well, second it first.
Okay, I'll second, and then I'm gonna ask a question.
Open for discussion now we'll
Yeah,
discuss.
sorry. Is it, will this come like in the same form as like the letter from?
ICDRC.
Same thing they do, okay,
Correct.
or planning board or
It will
whatever.
be treated as any other committee or
Recommendation.
town board that wants to weigh in on a special permit.
I will work on a policy. I'll write it up because they shouldn't be reviewing all site plans, maybe site plans with housing. in it.
They can review whatever they want, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would agree.
But- And we'll give it whatever weight we choose to, but
Okay.
they have the
let
opportunity
'em
to
weigh
weigh in on any site plan that they want to weigh in on, and we will accept their, we will accept any letters therefrom.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from them what they're gonna be focused on.
But our
As they're reviewing.
process does not get affected by it, so.
Right.
Was this a
so
request?
They need to weigh in at the earliest convenience at their own opportunities. Like, we're not postponing or waiting, we're not continuing a hearing, waiting for the AHT to give us their feedback.
Right, so those are the problems that I was thinking about before this. They were looking for something more permanent in a zoning change that would require their input.
No.
So they're
it's-
asking for this?
Right, and
So
just to
I would
general
agree with,
discussion.
I would agree with Craig that, we say, yeah, we'll take their comments like we take comments from everybody else. If they want to come in and articulate other than that, then they should come before us and
And
tell
the
us.
ICDRC used to do that. They would come,
She's
a
here tonight.
representative would say, we feel really strongly that all the windows should be with this kind of look and have the brick and all that, and if they want to do that, they are welcome to do it. We're not waiting for them, though.
Right.
We're not, they're
Because
not.
we have
their
a
feedback-
timeline.
Their feedback is in no way, shape, or form a requirement for our approval of any site plan or special permit, but if they want to give their feedback.
I would agree with that. All right, so,
And so was that voted on?
There's no vote. I mean, it's,
We second, well,
I mean.
We
Made a
Do
motion.
we
You
need,
made
do
a
we,
motion, I
to allow
seconded
it.
them,
You did
to
make
allow
a
them
motion.
to offer their
Yeah.
feedback
Yeah.
on any site plan
And you
review?
seconded it.
any additional discussion beyond that? All right, all right, motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. And without,
Adjourn.
Okay, wait, quickly, sorry, two more things. The open meeting complaint by Trevor Courier, with
that on the agenda for
the
tonight?
Attorney General found in favor of the board. You did nothing
Oh, right.
wrong. Also zoning amendments. Next week, January 31st, the planning board will be conducting a special planning board hearing so that they can just send off the draft zoning amendments to the select board under the 40A process. The select board will turn around and send them back to the planning board to conduct a public hearing, which will be held February 14th. But next Tuesday, there is another forum, a public forum in the library. It's a very busy time right now. And so I invite you all to come. Everyone is going to be able to provide input that will help shape the draft zoning amendments. Right now, we have the MBTA zoning, and there's two areas that are proposed to rezone. One is up Ferncroft, one is down near Bostic. Then there is a accessory dwelling unit. We don't have that right now at all in Middleton. I'm not sure how Middletonites will respond on this. It will create different types of housing, some affordable housing. Do people want it in all residential zones? Do they want to allow detached by special permit and within an existing dwelling by right? Those are all things you can provide input on. Also, there's a survey out where you can provide input on all of those things. And then two-family by right instead of by special permit. Right now, you need a special permit for two families with twice the amount of area. And the zoning amendment will be proposing that you get it by right if you have twice the amount of
I
area.
have a question. So the planning board is the one who are going through all of these changes to the zoning bylaws?
Correct.
Yes.
Why isn't this board going through the changes?
They're
to the-
elected, so they set policy.
Yet we
By-
have,
We are not
by
elected,
state
we are
law.
not, we are not
Right,
elected.
yet we
We're-
have to
we're-
administer it though, right?
Because we're a technical board, so so we administer the policy and they set it.
This board could propose zoning also. Under state law, this board can, actually, citizens can propose zoning. Almost anyone can propose zoning. The planning board is the one under state law that conducts the public hearing
Right.
for that zoning.
And we've been asked in the past to offer opinions, and sometimes the board does, sometimes they do, they don't, like, it's not, but it's, I always look at it as, we're just people in town when it comes to setting policy, so.
This board hopefully will provide a lot of input when we go over the rest of the zoning bylaw over the next year. Because I do think that possibly this board is getting a little too busy, and there could be some special permits that you are receiving applications for that you don't really need anymore. The ones that are easy, it's like, why is this even before us?
Will anybody be going next?
Maybe
I
we
can't
could
go
allow
next
some
Tuesday,
things by
unfortunately.
right.
Anyone else gonna go?
I can be there, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Hartwell,
What did I say before? A motion to adjourn.
do I have a second? To adjourn?
Yes, second.
Thank you. Without objection.